St. John the Baptist Parish Council Finance Committee meeting, Tuesday, July the 24th, 2018.
Larry Saraparu.
Here.
Kurt Becknell. Here. Julia Remende. Here. Larry Schneider. Here. Lennox Modair.
Here.
Michael Wright. Marvin Paraloo. Tom Malik. Here. Jacqueline Hotard. We do have a quorum.
Okay, we have a 2-minute per citizen. Anybody have any comments on anything on this agenda item for the Finance Committee? You have 2 minutes to comment. Okay, the first item we have is bid opening report. Mrs. Jean Stewart, authorization to award the 2018 annual contract for removal and replacement of concrete sidewalks, driveways, and street sections to LA Contracting Enterprise, LLC.
Good evening, Council. LA Contracting Enterprise, LLC of Thibodaux, Louisiana, submitted the lowest responsive and responsible bid. It was reviewed and approved by the parish engineer, and administration recommends approval.
Okay, we heard from administration. A motion by Mr. Snyder, second by Mr. Becknell. Any questions? Use your lights.
Thank you.
Wait, Tweety, you want me for this? No, over here. Okay, put him on, and then can you please turn Michael off? Okay, that carries 6 in favor with 3 absent.
Okay, the next item we have is Mrs. Jean Stewart and Blake Fogelman. Authorization to solicit bids for construction of the Shell Potable Water Line project.
Thank you, Chairman. NY Associates Incorporated has completed the design, received all permits, and is awaiting Louisiana Department of Health authorization to move forward. The total cost of construction is $244,000 with approximately $224,000, excuse me, with approximately 75% of which will be paid for by Shell Pipeline, with the balance being paid for out of the 2015 bond issue. Plans and specs were placed in the council's office and sent to the parish engineer for review. Administration recommends approval contingent upon LDH approval, which is forthcoming.
Okay, we heard from administration. Discussion?
Put your mic on, please.
Okay. What did you say Shell's share was?
The Shell's share is roughly 75%.
Okay.
They have a pre-existing agreement which you all approved for an approximate amount,
yep.
And we're waiting on the bids to come in, and that'll delineate the final amount that they pay.
All right, good. Thank you.
Mr. Snyder?
Yeah, that 2015 bond, you say?
Yes, sir.
Under which item that coming from?
If there's a water improvements, I think it's just lumped into water improvements items. It's not designated as a specific project.
Okay. So any project that comes up that might need that, we can use that fund for that, right? Okay. All right.
And most of the time, we've been piecing and parting those, so that's like the reimbursements. We'll kind of front it out of there and then get reimbursed back into it, just to use it as a capital investment cash project.
And that's what, that's the 8-inch line?
Excuse me, I'm
sorry. Is that the 8-inch line that Dublin putting in?
They requested, Shell originally requested an 8-inch line. We have a 12-inch going to it.
Okay.
So what we said was, if they would front the 8-inch line cost, we would like to add on to the top of that and increase that line to 12-inch to keep it consistent, potentially to connect all the way out across Marathon's property to Garyville.
So wasn't Shell gonna pay for the whole thing?
Yes, sir. Everything for an 8-inch line, right?
Right. Mm-hmm. So it costs us that much money for a 12-inch line?
Yes, sir. Right, for 3,000 foot, a 12-inch line. Yes, sir. That's
the total project was 168,000.
No, 224 is the estimate.
Oh, that for
and we'll see how the bids come in. Yeah, I mean that's the engineer's estimate.
And 75% of that was 168.
Right, roughly, yeah.
Roughly.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I said. That's going to change with the final cost with the bids coming in.
Okay.
Based on the agreement with Shell.
Okay. Oh, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, any more questions? Motion by Mr. Malik, second by Mr. Madare. Use your lights.
That carries 6 in favor with 3 absent.
Okay, the next item we have is Gene Stewart and Blake Fogelman. Authorization to select bids for the wastewater manhole rehabilitation project on the West Bank.
Thank you, Chairman. Professional Engineering Consultants Corporation, or PEC, has completed design of this project, received all permits, and obtained Louisiana Department of Environmental Quality approval. The total cost of this project is approximately $130,000 and will be funded through the current LDEQ SRF loan. Plans and specs were placed in the council's office and sent to the parish engineer for review. Administration recommends approval.
Okay, we heard from administration. Discussion. Motion, Mr. Becknell, second by Mr. Madare. And any questions? Mr. Madare?
This is the similar type program you did on the East Bank, huh?
Yes, sir.
With the
It's another phase of
coating,
that work.
coating of the
Yes, sir.
inside.
Yes, sir.
Okay, are they also going to be doing some of the pipes that lead
No, sir,
from it?
not in this
Just
phase.
the manholes?
Just the manholes, yes, sir.
Okay.
It's approximately 65 manholes that have been identified in the Edgard and Lucy area.
Okay.
Central was done, Reserve was done, Mount Airy was done.
Did they have any leakage of pipes?
They investigated, not cost beneficial to do the type of spend the type of money on.
Not at this time?
Yeah,
Okay.
correct.
All right.
Yes.
Mr. Snyder? Go ahead. Go ahead.
What did the parish engineer give us a report back, give you a report back that on?
He didn't. We had verbally discussed it last Tuesday. I hadn't gotten full-blown plans and specs back yet. We had discussed the type and nature of the work. We did send it to him on Thursday of last week. Today I did receive a email back, but not an official report,
So-
which I was told would be forthcoming. That they had no comments or questions.
Okay, so what's their point for looking at it? What are they looking for? I mean, engineering work been done to it already. Why these guys got to look at that?
I mean, I was under the impression that they were to look at anything engineering-wise.
Well, and that's my
no-
point. That's no problem with that part. I was just wondering, what are you looking for? I mean, that's what I'm talking about, because I've asked this question about some other issues, and that's not what we were looking for. We were looking for that, Yeah.
Basically, when we look at plans such as this, you have another professional of record who is responsible
Right.
for the project. We simply look at it as having another fresh set of eyes, simply similar to like your planning and zoning, looking at overall plans, see if there's any conflicts that may have been missed or need to be brought to the attention of the administration or council. Just to have another set of eyes on it and see if there's any conflicts that may interfere with your other utilities, or other things that may happen. The professional of record, though, is ultimately still responsible for that design.
Okay.
Ms. Robotham?
Okay.
I'm sorry.
And we
Finish line?
appreciate that.
Excuse me 1 minute. You finished, Mr. Snyder?
Yeah, I'm finished.
Okay.
Ms. Robotham.
And we appreciate you looking at it, but we didn't always do it, but I thought it was under your direction that
Right.
y'all wanted them to do it, so we sent it to them.
And we have no problem.
Because the engineer of record is actually the responsible party and the director who's working with them, but we do think, it's worthwhile, so we send it to them. If, there's no responsibility for it, many times in their report, they acknowledge they're not taking responsibility for the drawing, but they do look at it.
And I acknowledge that we that's what we wanted our engineering to look at, just look at things.
Right.
And I was just curious as to what do you be looking for? If I get somebody else's work, and if
Somebody else's work, but as with anything, we've had things where we give you an example, we look at planning and zoning drawings and so forth, and we may catch where they don't have a backflow prevention device where we feel they need
Right.
one. Things of that nature. In the case of the manhole job, you're correct. There's not a whole lot we're going to look at or change there, because he's not dealing with or moving infrastructure. So this was a short, quick review, and we will have a letter forthcoming to Mr. Fogelman. I was able to shoot him an email this afternoon, and I will do a full report. I just didn't have the proper time to get it out, and I knew he needed something prior to this meeting.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Ms. Robotham?
And just one more comment. I think we're very comfortable with this. We've had several phases of this type of work. It's been going on, I think, since 2010, so it probably was a lot easier for them to review, because it's just another phase to the type of project that we've been doing since 2010.
Mr. Marday?
Yes, I just want to point out, it's a similar project that they did on the East Bank, and we ran across a situation with the roads as they're doing now, the sewer rings. Okay, they have to remove the rings in order to asphalt and put the road back smooth over those rings. But by doing those sewer pipes in there, you couldn't get the rings up.
Right.
Because it's like sealed it.
Mr. Martin, this is different.
No, it's concerning the same
The
project.
water line,
Yeah, the same project.
we were talking the water line, wasn't
No,
The manhole.
we're talking about the manhole. So the manhole,
I'm sorry, my question was about the water line. That's why I asked you about the 12, that's why I asked you about the 8
so you in the wrong.
I'm way ahead of
You-
you.
Yeah, so,
In answer to your question, Mr. Modair, I discussed that with Mr. Fogelman, and we are going to be looking at whether or not the liner can actually stop below
Right.
the manhole rings. However, if it is needed there for some type of structural repair, as we're doing on East 23rd, we did a special order of manhole rings that will fit within that system. So we did discuss that and
right,
address it.
because that's the issue that came up, with the road repairs here.
Yeah, and it was pointed out. We'll definitely look into it. Part of that is if it has to come up to, if that's an area that gets inundated with rainwater and we're trying to stop that water from coming in, it may need to come up that high. And it's just maybe one of those, when you start to rehab old infrastructure, you come across different issues like this when you're trying to do something quick and easy. It doesn't make it quick and easy anymore, but hopefully we're not.
But you do have the experience now how to handle it.
They do,
From
and,
this
and
one.
and Gerald was unable to be here with PEC. That's something I'll shoot him an email on, and we'll discuss moving into this project to make sure we do it to the level that we need. and
Right,
not
'cause
just-
we we will be asphalting roads sometime down the line.
Yes, sir.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
You're gonna inspect manhole covers, correct?
So the project, so they've sent somebody out already, and they've done an inspection of all. There's a whole footprint of area that they looked at all the sewer lines and all the manholes, and then they came back and analyzed those, and the ones that needed to be rehabbed are in this project. So it's not the covers themselves; it's the actual infrastructure, the walls of the manhole itself, where it's allowing water to get into our system, whether it be water or damage in structural stability. That's kind of what we're looking at, not necessarily surface. We're looking at the internal of the structure.
Okay, so you won't be inspecting the internal of the lift stations? That's not including lift stations?
This is
No, sir.
manhole.
This is just manholes.
So let me ask you one question on design. What is it that you have to design to inspect a manhole?
They're actually coating manholes. They're not. The inspection's already done. That's a pre. Somebody goes out there and basically takes pictures of the thicknesses and everything, and then the engineer comes back and decides what's the best path for structural stability and longevity of that structure itself. And typically, in this case, it's a rubber type of coating that you coat on the inside of it. It has to meet to certain specs because it has to stick. If it has a pinhole in it, water can get through, and it basically nulls your whole liner. So there's a lot of specifications that are required from an engineering standpoint to hold that contractor to doing that job so that it meets its intended purpose.
So,
And this is an LDEQ loan that requires that you have an engineer of record on the project who designed the construction based on the inspection.
So for $130,000, this is gonna do 65 manhole covers?
This is 65 manholes themselves. So this is 4 to 6, maybe 8 foot deep manholes. 65 of those. They do this on linear footage, so they do this on vertical footage. So you're not going to see precisely 65 written anywhere. It's going to be so many vertical feet, which is spread out over 65 manholes.
Okay, and are we gonna look at some of those that's down low that should be lifted?
Not in this project is specifically for the coating of those manholes. So if that is an investigation we need to do, that's something that can, directed our way. We'll try to start building another project that maybe is moving infrastructure or reestablishing that elevation.
Okay, because I did put a couple of work orders on
Okay.
some of those that were recessed down.
Okay.
Thank you. Any more questions? Use your lights.
That carries 6 in favor with 3 absent.
Okay, the next item we have is Robert Figueroa and Blake Fogelman. Authorization to advertise and request for proposals for meter reading services.
Thank you, Chairman. This request will allow administration to seek proposals to contract a third-party vendor for the interim meter reading while pursuing a full system implementation. Administration recommends approval.
Okay, we heard from administration. A motion from Ms.
Yeah, I'll motion
Motion from Mr. Snyder,
But we need
second by Ms. Remedy.
Questions?
Any question, discussions?
We going into full meter reading, manual meter reading?
Yes, that's what the intent of this
That's the
RFP is.
intent, huh?
Yes, sir.
Good. And at the same time, excuse me,
Go
and
ahead.
at the same time, we're gonna be discovering, man, meters also, right?
Yes, sir. Our intent is to refocus our current personnel to specifically do that and fix, repair, do whatever we need to do to the ancillary side of just, they're not going to be reading meters. They're going to be doing everything else in the field to get us to 100% and get us where we need to be.
To get us, okay. All
Yes,
right,
sir.
all right. So until we can,
Located, brought to the surface, identified, so that when we continue to pursue this full read system, that we can do it efficiently.
sound like a plan.
And I have a question. How many meter readers are we talking about?
We're not putting a number on that. That's going to be based on the vendor, on how many they think they could. We're giving them a criteria to meet. So meaning you got to read so many and turn it into us on such and such date. However many people they put to that is on them and their staffing.
And how many do we have right now?
We currently have 5 and a part-time. We're trying to bring a part-time on. Yeah.
So we're gonna have 5 plus?
No, sir.
They may not. It just depends on their time and their staffing and what they're going to do if they read through a weekend or if they read, we can dictate that they only read 8 to 5 if we wanted to, or we could say you need to turn these in reasonable work hours. Daylight hours is the only time you're able to read, and they can do it in 2 days if they think they can get it done. So they may bring in 15 people. It's a cost thing for them. They have to give us a cost per meter.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Can we use some of that $6 million?
No, sir.
No, sir. No, sir.
Why not? I mean, all this in preparation of this new system we got, am I right?
It'll be in your next item,
Because
Mr.
that's
Snyder.
not, I don't know that we can manual reads that gives us leak detection or
It
smart
does not. It's
metering or
smart meter
anything.
technology only, that the LDEQ loan, which
that's
is
the
why it's
requirement.
through DEQ.
Okay. And Robert and I are working on, to bridge that gap funding wise. So,
Good.
yep.
Robert working on this, you said?
Robert and I, yes, sir.
We got it.
Okay, here's your lights.
I carry 6 in favor with 3 absent.
Thank you all.
Okay, the next item we have is Laverne Toombs and Mara Alexis, authorization to execute a time extension with Pivotal Engineering, LLC, for inspection services of the CDBG Isaac Housing Program.
This is a one-year renewal for construction inspection services for the CDBG housing program. The rates will remain the same. The standard contract document was sent to legal counsel for review, and administration recommends approval.
Okay, we heard from administration.
I want to make a motion to discuss this.
Yes.
Okay, motion for discussion.
Yes.
Mr. Mother, second by Mr. Snyder.
Yeah. Okay. I'm looking at the legal report. Okay, and it says that they haven't has legal. Let's see, is not legally sufficient to authorize. Okay, authorize the execution of this contract. I think according to what I'm reading here, you have to have some other person name that individual as to execute the contract. That's what I'm reading and trying to place it all together. And I think legal have been saying that for quite a while. That they had to have. It's not. Let me read it completely. It's not. I've written on July 20th. It is not legally sufficient to authorize an individual to execute this contract renewal. As our office has constantly advised parish administration, a certificate of authorization or corporation resolution that name the individual to execute a contract on behalf of the company should be attached to the agreement for your review. Okay, and according to legal, that haven't been done yet. And that's what they recommend today. And I just want to say one thing. I said it last meeting. You know, it was brought to my attention several meetings ago that how much money we pay the DA office to give us legal advice. Okay, and it's a large amount of money. And for legal to give us advice and us not to follow their legal recommendation, then I think we wasting parish money. Because legal is the one that's supposed to keep us out of trouble, keep us out of lawsuit, and make sure everything is sufficiently documented and done right. So if legal have a problem with this or how it's being put together, then I think we shouldn't vote on it, or we should table it until legal give us the sufficient go-ahead for whatever problem they see in this document. Okay, and I do believe that we pay legal to give us that type of advice, and I don't think we should be going against it.
Mrs. Ramade, and then Ms.
How many other contracts have we signed in the past few years that we've provided that resolution from a corporation?
Probably none. We've been in contract with this company since 2013, since their original request for proposal, which indicated the principal for the company and their signatory. In an effort to facilitate this, there's nothing wrong with the agreement. The people have been working here forever. The person who signs is the president. There's a second signature for a vice president. The company forwarded their operational guidelines that said who in their company can sign, negotiate, and execute contracts on their behalf. And those two names are on the document. So other than, I don't know that we can tell companies who should sign their documents, and again, especially when they sent us their operational plan that specifies who signs and executes contracts on their behalf. Additionally, this signator has signed every previous agreement that they've been working on since 2013, I think, for this company, and prior to that under a previous company. So this is something that really is just delaying the inevitable. The owner of the company, the president and vice president, have the ability to enter into agreements. They forwarded us a document that says they have the ability to do that, and we have a one-page renewal to continue something that has been underway since 2014 that's being held up.
So basically, we're just asking this company to provide it. No other companies had to provide that.
Well, that's something new all of a sudden that they're asking for. So the company provided what they provided, which was their operational plan, which says who can execute contracts on their behalf. And those are the names that are on the agreement.
My issue is we have to have the same rules for everybody. That's my only concern here. If every company doesn't have to do this, this company shouldn't have to do this either. That's just
and none
how
of them
I look
had
at
to
it.
do it in the
to
past.
me, it wouldn't be fair to this company if a contract we approved in the last few weeks, they didn't have to do this either. I don't see the need for it. Thank you.
Mr. Mardet and Mr. Snyder.
Yes, I would like the legal to sort of explain what it is that they're asking for.
Keith Green, Jr. with the District Attorney's Office. The Certificate of Authority of the Corporate Resolution, as I explained to Mr. Byrne earlier, it's comparable to a power of attorney for a company. So the operating agreement is nothing more than the document that governs how the company is supposed to be run. Now, no one is really supposed to see the operating agreement. That's not even filed with the Secretary of State's office. Certificate of Authority of the Corporate Resolution is the document that identifies the specific individual that the company has named to represent them, to sign on their behalf. Now, as far as the operating agreement is concerned, there is some language in it that dictates who can sign and under what circumstances, but there's also another clause that required unanimous written approval for any contract executions. Now, obviously, I can't speak to what has happened in the past, but as we all know, you cannot sign a document for someone else without the proper authorization, i.e. a power of attorney. In Louisiana, a company is a juridical person. It's its own person. That's why it has a tax ID number. Tax ID number for a company, social security number for a human, okay? Corporate resolution, certificate of authority for a company, power of attorney for a person. This is not a new Louisiana law. This is something that's been around for a long time. Why it has not been in practice with the parish, I don't know. I'm not here to discuss that, but what I am here to say is until we get the certificate of authority or the corporate resolution, the person who signs is not necessarily authorized to execute that agreement. So in terms of potential for exposure to liability, if the company does something, you want to sue the company under the terms of the contract, they'll say, hey, this person wasn't even authorized to sign the agreement. And we don't have anything that says the company said this is the person to sign for us. Just like the council will pass a motion for the parish president to sign contracts on behalf of the parish. It's an authority. It's the same thing.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Mr. Marty, you finished?
No. Okay. What I want to say is, okay, I'm not here to live in the past, okay, because they made mistakes in the past. We made some mistakes, okay, but when you have a chance to correct those type of things and do it legally the way it's supposed to be done, I think that's what we should be in the business about doing, okay, and not rely on something you did in the past, okay, because before I ever became a councilman, I knew the parish did something that was illegal, okay. I'm not going to mention it when it was illegal. It wasn't until I became a councilman that finally someone acknowledged that it was illegally done, okay. So I'm not going to live in the past, what we did yesterday or what we used to do. Okay, this is a new council, a new ball game, a new situation. Now, if we've done this wrong in the past, here's an opportunity to do it right, and to do it right moving forward for everyone. Okay, and not just them, for everyone. Okay, we can't rely on the past. We have to move on and do it legally the right way, because we pay for legal advice and we should follow it.
When I mentioned past, we're not talking about past of the last 10, 15 years. We're talking about the recent past of this administration and this district attorney's office. If you required it today, you should have required it last week, and it should have been the week before. I still can't understand why all of a sudden now this company's word, I know what you're talking about, the legal authority, give her the authority to sign the contract. But what I'm stating is every contractor needs to be treated the same, or they should have a problem with us. You didn't require anyone else to do this in the time that I've been sitting on this council, but for this company, and I really don't even know this company, I just think it's odd. If you're going to do it for this one, we need to be notified in advance so we could let these people know, but not hold up their contract because we decided to add another legal hurdle to climb. Not that it's unheard of needing something like that, but it's been in the recent past since I've sat on this council, that has not been important to anyone in this room. Now all of a sudden, it's why we're going to hold up government again. They never had it all this time, but all of a sudden it's the end of it. Thank you.
Mr. Snyder?
Yeah, thank you. You know, like Mr. Martin said, that we're not going to listen to our legal people, then we don't need them. And I think we do need them, because if you look back at some of our records and how we've gotten in trouble by not having legal advice or not listening to legal advice. I look at some other contracts. We got 2 other contracts coming up after this contract, and our parish president got the authority, and they have designation on exactly who gonna do what from the parish president down, especially the one dealing with UNO down there. We know UNO got the same problem with their contract. I don't know who can write the checks to. I don't know who can sign for the checks, but I know they don't have a name down there as far as who gonna be the person responsible for that, the financial part of it. They got some lady named down there who's the chief of whatever department they got down there, UNO. That's fine, no problem with that. She can lead that. But we got a bunch of kids out there coming out there and do work for us, so it seems like. But I didn't see anybody named down there in their contract as authorized to do what our parish president is authorized to do. Now, I've heard this before. I don't want to hear this, but we've never asked for this. We have asked for this before. Now, that's Mrs. Robotham word against my word, and I say we have, and I believe my word.
You mean Ms. Remedy?
Well, You, I'm talking Ms. Robards.
Well, I didn't even,
Just said.
One at a
we've
time,
Never had
one
to
at a
do this
time.
before.
Ms. Remedy just said
No,
that.
you said that because you asked the question.
Mr. Snyder have the floor, ladies.
Mrs. Remedy asked the question. Have we ever did this before? And you said no.
Oh, I can
That's
address
what I'm
that.
talking about. So let's you know, if our legal people say let's hold off on this. Is this thing time sensitive? No. Again, is it time sensitive, like the bridge back there?
I
Is
think it
time
expires
sensitive?
on
We
the
just want to have
27th.
things our way. Let's hold off on it. I think we should hold off on the UNO contract. I really do, until we get some clarification from them. That's it.
Just
Mrs.
for
Rowbottom?
clarification, and what Ms. Remende was saying, and I'm not sure what other contract she's talking about, but specific to this one, this exact same extension or renewal was approved by the District Attorney's Office last year. The same people who signed it in 2017, 16, 15, and 14 for this specific contract is coming from the company. Because of the difficulty we were having in trying to finalize this, Ms. Toombs called the company to get information with regard to who in their company is allowed to sign their documents. They sent a revised operational document which specifically referenced Section 10, which says that who is able to execute contracts on their behalf, and one person can execute up to $800,000, and 2 signatures are needed for any contracts over $800,000. That is from the company. And again, it's the same name that's been on every contract we've had with Pivotal. They didn't just start working this year. The District Attorney's Office have been with us since 2015. This wasn't a requirement last year. It wasn't one before, and it wasn't one when it started. It actually is not even a full contract. It's a one-page renewal continuing what has been done since 2014 with the same signature that's been on every contract we've had with Pivotal. And that's all we're trying to say.
Okay, thank you. We have a recess. Get a motion for recess?
Motion to recess. Right there. 65 with 3 after. All right. St. John the Baptist Parish regular council meeting, July 24th. Silence all your electronic devices. Madam Secretary, call the roll, please.
Larry Rockeroon.
Here.
Kurt Beckman. Judy Remende. Larry Schneider. Lennox Monair.
Here.
Michael Wright. Marvin Paraloo. Thomas Malik.
Here.
Jacqueline Hotard. We do a quorum.
We do have a quorum. Okay, I'll ask Mr. Becknell to lead us in prayer and Mr. Mallett in the pledge.
Hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thine will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, entertain a motion for recess. Motion by Mr. Snyder, second by Mr. Mallett. Use your light. 16 favor and 3 absent.
Thank you, sir. To address your point, Ms. Remedy, to address your concern, my grandmother used to say that when you learn better, you do better. Now, certificate of authorities, corporate resolutions, those have been a mainstay with the DA's office internally. Any contracts with any vendors, it's automatic because we know that it's required. This year, we actually prepared templates for the administration, contracts, extensions, renewals, etc. It was in preparing those templates that we realized specific language requiring the attachment of that authorization document was not included in the contracts. Now, silly me, took it for granted. Those documents were automatically being provided. When we recognized that, we included that language in those templates. I believe we started sending the templates probably earlier part of this year. This exact situation we went through with Tetra Tech. If you look at the principal contract that you guys just approved, when principal submitted their contract, they had a corporate resolution attached. The reason our office advised the council not to make any movements on this contract until we got that is because the last time, a few weeks back with Tetra Tech, I told the council, yes, you guys can approve it contingent upon receiving that document. I was told the administration had the document. We'll get it the next day. We ended up not getting it until 3 weeks later. So it was at that point, it's like, okay, well, we can't do that anymore. The templates are set up with authorization for the parish president, i.e. the motion from the council, and of course, authorization from the company, both of which need to be attached. Now, whether that information is communicated to the vendors, because it is a component part of the agreements of the templates that we've prepared for them. Whether it's been communicated, I'm not sure. Whether the companies are reading them or just going through the motions of old practice, I don't know. But the purpose for it is to limit the liability of exposure for the parish. With the district attorney's office, with our lease agreement, we hunted you down. We need that corporate resolution. We need that resolution because that is what the authority is to sign this agreement. Without authority, what do you have? So that's the reason.
Very well, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. You're welcome.
My only concern is there is an operational component to this company that tells you who's authorized. That doesn't count?
No, ma'am, it doesn't. In fact, that is the operating agreement. And I'm not sure if the administration has provided you guys with a copy of that, but operating agreement, and everyone has Google, so you can actually, look up the definition, but it's an internal document. It's not a document that is supposed to be publicized. It's not a document
Okay, but they gave it to us, right?
It's not a document that is used to provide authorizations. That is an internal document for that company. The company says, yes, you can do what have you, but that doesn't give them authorization to execute this agreement. And that's what the corporate resolution is for, or the certificate of authority, whichever the case may be.
Mr. Madare?
Well, Mr. Malik, get his point across first, and I'll come after.
Mr. Malik?
I'm just thinking this should be a relatively simple thing, just to tell them that until they give you the certificate of authority that
Right.
we're going to sit here until they get it, and I don't see why they can't expedite emailing or transmitting this document, so.
Those forms are on the Secretary of State's website. You can type it in Google and a Word version will pop up. It's not a complicated thing. It's actually done in the normal course and scope of business.
Mr. Madare?
Okay, that would be my point exactly. Okay, if they want the business, okay, do the paperwork, get the legal documents in, okay, and it's a done deal. Okay, so, and like you say, we did it with a few other people, and moving forward, this is how it's going to be done.
When's it expire?
Legally, okay? And time-sensitive stuff don't work anymore. So,
Mr. Green, we thank you for your clarifying this, breaking it down for us.
I'd just like to make a motion to table this item until we get the legal sufficient documents that legal is requiring us to get.
Okay.
Is this time sensitive, ladies and gentlemen? Is it?
It actually, these people are doing work now. It expires, I think, August 25th. We have 3 weeks before the next meeting. And again, if we didn't have a document from the company saying who can execute and negotiate contracts, looking back at every contract that we have with Pivotal that was signed by the principal, it's the same person. So are we going to delay 3 weeks to get a document, a different document? Because the document we have specifically says who can sign contracts on their behalf. Ms. Remonday has it. So we're looking for a different type of document to say the same thing, that the same person can sign the contract. Is that basically, so can that be your motion, that we get approve it contingent upon getting a different document, that says the same thing that has been in practice for the last? several years. And again, the difference is, and I know Mr. Mader continues to say this, we don't sign the documents until they're approved, whether it takes 3 weeks, 6 weeks, 5 weeks, or whatever. Contingent means that you don't sign them until you have legal counsel's approval. So if that takes 6 months, then it's 6 months before it's signed. And that's basically sometimes what takes place.
Mr. Mader.
I understand about contingents on, are we getting this? I understand that. Okay, I've been doing that since we've been on the council. It's time we stop that.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, there's something wrong with it because it's not, at the time of the vote, it was not legal. So we voting on something that we hope will become legal.
Well, it's contingent.
Okay, so
That's what contingent
I understand
means.
what contingent means. You understand? I might get wet if I go outside. It's contingent on me going outside.
Right.
Okay, what I'm saying is we need to stop doing these type of things and do it legally. Everything that comes to us should be, and I'm tired of hearing the word time sensitive and studies and all this stuff. Okay, those and change orders. Those are 3 things that we just need to stop. Change orders, studies, and all that craziness. Okay, anything that's on this agenda should be legally sufficient for us to vote on and not contingent upon anything. Okay, when it comes to us, everything should be documented. The DA office has been asking for this for a long time. Okay, and here we are tonight discussing it again, whether we going to do it or not. Okay, once the DA tell the administration or this council what they need to do legally, then to me that's a done deal. Go and get it done. Go and get it done. And then we won't have none of these discussions. Get it done, what they say, and I'm telling you, I'm not voting on anything anymore as long as I'm sitting in this seat that is not sufficiently given to us by legal, because that's what we pay them for. Because the minute something go wrong, they're going to say the council voted on it.
Ms. Robottom.
Just for clarification, y'all continue to throw around the word illegal. This exact same contract template and renewal was approved by the district attorney's office as legally sufficient. That one, the one before it, and the ones before that. So all of a sudden, it's illegal. It's not illegal. The person with the authority to sign it is signing it. And again, there's nothing illegal with approving a contract contingent upon something else. That is not illegal, and the fact that y'all throw it around like it is, it's not. Just because you say it doesn't make it so. There's nothing in here that is illegal, and having the owner of the company who sent a document on their behalf saying who can sign a contract on their behalf, there's nothing illegal about allowing them to sign it.
Okay. No, I'm not. A second.
Mr. Mader had a motion on the floor.
Well, no, I want to respond to that comment just now. Okay, and then we can move on.
One more response, Mr.
Okay.
Mader.
We have a contract with Raw that the administration brought to us that was supposed to be legal, and then we found out it is illegal, and they came to us and tried to get out of it.
Actually, okay, so the district attorney says it's legal.
No. Yeah, it's legal because we want to hold them to 6 years. But you said the people came and said that's illegal. Okay, but it's something that we voted on. So
we didn't say it was illegal.
There's no such thing as something that we vote on can't be illegal. Because we voted on a contract that we found out, according to the people in charge, is illegal. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is, to avoid those type of situations, make sure everything we vote on is legally documented and legally done, according to the DA office, and not to anything that administration say or anyone else. I'd rather listen to a lawyer than someone who's not a lawyer. Okay, now I'm voting according to what the DA is saying. Now anybody else can vote how you want, but we paid them for legal advice, and that's the advice I'm taking.
Okay, Mr. Mader, have a motion on the floor to table this item. Second by Mr. Snyder. Use your lights.
That carries 5 in favor with 1 against and 3 absent.
It's 4.
Okay, so.
Okay.
4 in favor.
So you got to vote on it. That ain't gonna pass.
Unless y'all want to do something else about it.
Right, it just died. It died.
Okay, there's no action taken on this item.
Right.
Okay, let's move on. Next item.
So you did
We have Alexandra Carter, authorization to enter into an agreement with the University of New Orleans for the assignment of a graduate student to provide professional planning and coastal management services.
Thank you, Chairman. This agreement will enable the effective management of additional planning and coastal management duties prompted by the adoption and operation of the parish's local coastal management program, or LCMP, effective July 1st, 2018. The Department of Natural Resources will fund $21,248 of the cost of the internship, and the Planning and Zoning Department will fund the remaining $1,522 through their professional services budget line item. The agreement was sent to legal counsel for review, and administration recommends approval.
Okay, we heard from administration.
Once again.
Sure. Mr. Becknell?
This is mostly funded by a grant, right, Al?
Yes, it's funded by a grant that was made available because we adopted the coastal zone, the coastal program, and that was approved by the state and the federal government. The money is made available to assist the parish with operating the program that began on July 1st. So we're already assuming those responsibilities and additional duties.
And all you have to pay is $1,000 for planning and zoning.
Right, exactly. It's only like a little over $1,000 that's coming out of our budget to fund this. And the funding provides for their tuition. So it supports a student in school at UNO. It's a scholarship. So, you know,
All right.
it's a good thing.
Thank you.
Mr. Snyder?
Exactly what does that graduate student be doing or responsible for? I read the contract, and it's things I didn't understand. And one of the things that from my understanding, they're gonna make decisions on application made to do things on our coast, and they're gonna make the decisions on that through you?
No, we actually have a coastal zone committee. So when there are actually decisions that need to be made for local concern that have impacts that affect the community, it goes to the coastal zone committee. They're advisory to this council. And then our floodplain manager and coastal zone manager handles those decisions. And that would also come through me. But for large cases that are going to impact the community, they go through the coastal zone advisory committee. This person really would be fielding questions, handling floodplain management issues, researching grants to help residents with flooding concerns. The entire parish is in the coastal zone. Adopting the coastal zone program was a very huge endeavor. We have not increased our staff whatsoever, and it puts the parish in a really great position because we've shown a huge amount of commitment to our coast, and we've already, I think, benefited from that. It makes us very eligible to get grants. Part of this job is applying for grants. We are, I think, right now missing opportunities for grants on a small scale because we just don't have the capacity to apply. Right, they're out there. We just can't apply for everything that's available, and we see this as a great opportunity to fill that gap and provide an additional service to St. John.
This is different from the last thing we had because we actually had something to focus on with the district attorney's report on the last item. This item is different. They just haven't had a chance to look at this. And I was completely satisfied with UNO's, I think it was UNO that did the work for us with our historic division, our historic.
Right, we work with them, with their
right,
students.
They did an excellent job and good people in the community. I really don't have too much issue with this one, but I did see in the contract, whereas you have someone that they can go to if you're not here.
Yes.
But we don't have anybody to go to if they're forgot the lady's name.
Miss Bethany. I know
right.
I know her.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, you know her. But if she
right.
decides to go take a trip to Europe someplace, then gone for 3 weeks.
Right.
We don't have anybody down here that said her designate.
Okay.
We don't have that in the contract. So I think I would support that if we can put something in there. She got to designate somebody.
Could I get a motion for support with that change included? Because I can make that change easily.
Please. That's what I saw in the contract.
Right. So an amended contract with a designee associated.
She have a designee too. You got one.
Right.
In the contract.
Right.
But she does.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's a simple change. And this is a stock. They have graduate assistants all throughout the parishes in the metro area, and they use this same contract with all of them. So, you know, we didn't write this up. This is
So-
something that they use regularly.
So according to the grant, we need to have a university?
No, according to the grant, we have to use these funds to support the program.
So
So
we
we could have
decide to use
bought a boat,
Right. We
right?
decide
But we
to
don't need a boat. We need a person. We need somebody applying for these grants, so we don't miss these opportunities. And we need some, yeah,
So why did you go to the university and get people from the university?
because we don't have a lot of money. It's only 20,000, so it's not enough to hire a new staff person.
For an expertise, right?
Right, and we are looking for expertise. So this is a graduate student with UNO in environmental sciences that's doing environmental planning. So it's an easy slide into giving them really good experience, real life experience, not just theory, and they can use that and gain practical knowledge and support their scholarship.
Mr. Marley?
Yes, I agree with Mr. Snyder. I think this is a good program, be very beneficial to us. I have one question for you, how long you been knowing about this?
I was actually a graduate assistant when I was at UNO. So I've known about the program since I was a student, so in early 2000s.
Okay, so how long has it been since you introduced it to us? Today?
Well,
Yesterday?
yesterday we sent it through because we were working out the details of the contract. We've been working with UNO to try to make sure it was right before we sent it to you
Well, that's
all.
what I'm saying, how long you been working with them concerning it?
I've known about the opportunity for a while, but, you know, we're managing a lot of different contracts. I mean, I would respectfully, you know, ask that you guys understand that we do a lot of work, not just on contracts, but with planning and zoning and permitting, code enforcement.
Well, and I understand what you're saying, and I support this, but my point I'm trying to make is our legal advisors or attorneys didn't get this until today. And they're supposed to review it and tell us if it's legal or not. And they got it today. That's the kind of stuff I'm trying to stop, okay? If we're gonna have to do something legal and vote on it, that we're gonna attach all our name to, and you've been working on it for a while, you understand, is it time sensitive?
It's difficult when you're,
Because that's the key
yeah,
thing.
I understand.
Yes or no, is it time sensitive?
It is time sensitive.
so-
They
and I-
tried it,
and-
they're gonna be
and
starting
I
August
understand,
20th, and they have their
but
student
when we have something
orientation.
that's time sensitive, then that means we should work faster to get it to the legal authority before the day of the meeting. Because we already know it's time sensitive, okay? It's just like I said before, they give me a term paper at the beginning of the school year, and I BS around until the week before the term paper due. Then it definitely become time sensitive, okay? So all I'm saying is we can't expect the DA to get something today, to look it over, and then tell us it's legal for us to vote on it tonight. So they should have it at least 3 or 4 days before. And then that way we can avoid some of the issue that we have about this not legal and we didn't get enough time for it. That's all I'm saying. But I definitely agree with it. But you see my
Great.
point. They got it today.
Right, and respectfully, almost every single item we work on in our department is time sensitive. It is a matter of a constituent complaint that needs to happen yesterday, you know, contracts that need to be approved last week. It's a lot of work, and that's why we're trying to get this contract in place so that we can relieve some of that tension so that we can do better about meeting these timelines.
And just using your word, you say you can. It's
Everything-
time sensitive. You
everything
already
is
did it done
time
yesterday.
sensitive.
So if you need it done yesterday, they need it the day before. That's
Basically,
all I'm saying. They need it the day before.
Mrs. Roboto?
I think we're getting confused with the authority. It's my understanding the district attorney is supposed to be looking at the document to determine if it's legally sufficient. You guys have all the authority and legal right to vote on anything you want. You're authorizing us to enter into an agreement with UNO. That's where your authority comes in. What they're doing is looking at the actual document to make sure it protects you. They have no authority over your voting or not. It's whether or not, before we sign this document, does it protect the parish? And that can be done after you vote. Your authorization is to allow us to enter into this agreement with UNO for a student. That's what you're voting on. That's what we're asking you to vote on. And they are looking at the actual document to make sure that that document is legally sufficient. But the two are not the same. You guys are, it's very clear. I think Alex had actually spoken to you guys. There are a lot of things going on. And we understand or I fully understand the DA's plight in terms of getting things late as they shouldn't. But several of you, along with me, were out of town on a couple of trips. So yeah, things are delayed. Things were delayed. There's several things. We also went back and forth on should it be a CEA, should it be a contract. So it wasn't like we just intentionally postponed this. We were trying to put together the right document for the right purpose. So it took some time to do some research and get with UNO to make sure we are, you know, the district attorney's office has an idea of what their documents are, but we're dealing with UNO. They have their idea of what they want their documents to look like. So it's not like we're just sitting on our hands. We actually are working during this whole time trying to put together a document that meets both parties' needs, because it's not just your vote that counts. The firm that we're in, our company that we're entering into an agreement with, also has to agree on the document. So it, you know, there's a lot of back and forth on that. Again, our request tonight is that you vote on whether or not you authorize us to enter into an agreement with UNO for this student, and then Alex can work with Mr. Green, add the additional statement that Mr. Snyder requested, because many times when we put them in the booklet, they're drafts. They aren't the final document. When we give you all a document, it's listed as a draft. It is not the final document, which says you can make changes to it after, based on your approval. Well, then the actual document is finalized through the district attorney's office. So that's all we're asking that you do tonight. Again, school will be starting. Alex is right. She's worked on this a long time. We did go back and forth. Which document did we use? Is it a CEA? Is it a contract? Is it an MOU? And so we did some research, and ultimately we came up with this document. I think it's clear you guys support this, right? With Mr. Snyder's edit to add a designee like Alex, and she can make that amendment and give it to the district attorney and let him review it. Again, we don't sign the documents until we get an email from the district attorney's office that says this document is legally sufficient.
Mr. Martin.
Yes. Now, everything that you said, okay, is not relevant to what I'm talking about. Okay. Yeah, sure, we support this. What I'm trying to make this administration understand, and everybody on this council, okay, that's why we have legal sit here at every meeting to tell us what's legal and what's not legal. Okay, and they don't sit here to tell us to sign something and wait until they do this and do that. My point is, everything that come before us on this agenda, whether it's time sensitive or not, okay, then if it's time sensitive, then you got to work a little harder to get it to them soon enough where they can look at it. And you said they're there to protect us, the council. They're there to protect the council and the parish. Now, if we vote on something and then it's illegal, okay, somebody give me
What's illegal about
someone give me a bulletproof vest. I don't put it on after I'm shot. I put it on before. Okay, so it's there to protect us before something happened, and that's what they're there for, to protect us before something happened, not after it happened. And anything we vote on, it's supposed to be legal as we see it in here. But if you go outside the court of law, you can also be proven that some of the things you voted on is illegal or wasn't done properly. So we're not the final say-so. What I'm saying is, and I'm gonna state that again and again, when they say it's legal, then I'm voting for it, okay, regardless to what it is. When they say it's legal, I'm voting for it. If they don't say it's not legal, I'm not voting for it. That's just all I'm saying.
I don't think there's a question about whether the agreement is legal. Does anybody have a question about whether an agreement with UNO for a student is legal?
I don't know. I'm not a lawyer.
Hey,
so
okay.
I'm sorry.
Ms. Carter, are you complete?
Yes, sir.
We need a motion. Okay.
Really?
This- Use your lights.
It's not on? Okay. I make a motion contingent upon the clause that's missing, that we approve this.
The representative.
Yeah. Yeah. Designate.
Use your lights.
That's all,
Mr. Snyder? go
that's
ahead.
all we approved is on, that, not the contingencies? That
I make a motion to
the
approve the agreement, the contingent upon that clause be added on.
Well, you got more to it than that.
That's all right.
All right.
Use your lights.
That fails.
Wait a minute.
have enough
Hey, wait. My light, what you want to do in this? Because you voting on mine over there.
Larry?
Yes.
What you voting yes, Larry?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
and I'm voting no.
Okay, so that's 3 in favor, 2, you're abstaining, Tom? 4 in favor, 2 against, still fails. No, 4, you need 5 for that. It fails.
Okay, the next item we have is Alexander Carter,
3 weeks.
authorization to amend the cooperative endeavor agreement
3 weeks
with
from
South Central Planning and Development Commission.
Thank you, Council Chairman. In an effort to address legal opinion number 17-001, administration has provided objective evidence, in other words, a CBA and Attorney General opinion, that the proposed pro rata payments for the Regional Code Compliance Program are of greater or equal value to the benefits received by the taxpayers of St. John the Baptist Parish. The new 2019-2020 pro rata rates have been released, wherein the annual local pro rata share totals $280,284 annually, a decrease from last year's cost due to a decline in permitting activity. Administration recommends approval.
Okay, we heard from administration. Have a motion, Mrs. Ramaday. Have a second, Mr. Becknell. Any discussion?
I thought we had this conversation about a year ago concerning the South Central and that advance payment. Okay, so what changed? What do the administration think changed that the council is going to vote for this now?
There is a new rate that's out that was just released this July. The Attorney General's opinion and the CBA. All those 3 documents have been provided to the Parish Council for consideration.
You know what get me? We can rely on Attorney General opinion when it's in favor of what administration want. But when we court what our DA say, there's a problem. Now, I know I made it perfectly clear last year when we talked about this. You understand that I'm not in favor of paying anybody upfront money, $25, $27. I don't care if it's $10,000, and they haven't done anything yet. I think we made it perfectly clear. It was made perfectly clear by our DA office. Our legal authority told us that they couldn't do it. Now, they can come and get 10 opinions from 10 different lawyers. Like I said before, I can put 100 lawyers in a building and ask them the same question and get 100 different opinions, and they all say it's legal. But I'm going to rely on the one that represent this parish, and that's the DA office over there. Until the district attorney office tell me something different, my argument and my stand concerning South Central stands the same.
And I would just add that in this case, the last time we discussed this in a council setting with the district attorney, they had requested administration get a CBA to prove that there was evidence that the pro rata share provided a cost commensurate with the benefits. So that is new information that we've now distributed to the district attorney for their consideration. So.
Now you said for consideration, right?
Yes.
Okay, well, if you brought it in for consideration, why are we talking about it tonight? Because, wait, let me finish. Why are we talking about it tonight then? If you give it to them for consideration, they're supposed to consider it in 24 hours and tell us about it? Something that we made perfectly clear almost a year ago that we was not in favor, and you gave it to them yesterday, and it's on the agenda tonight. South Central, hey, I'm not in no rush to finance South Central, okay? And we have a legal opinion. Until I hear differently from our district attorney, and it seems as though this is a rush job again. If they got it yesterday and it's on the agenda, what's the rush? Where the fire at? Why we rush everything?
To be fair, we do want to keep the council updated in terms of what is going on with South Central and the new rates. All the parishes that are participating in the Regional Code Council have gotten these rates. A lot of this is about information sharing. So, you know, we've provided this information to the council and the district attorney's office for those reasons. You know, we don't want you to hear this from somebody else that these new rates are in play and that, you know, are you making a decision about it? You know, we want to make sure you all understand what is on the table, what has been produced to date, and for you to make a very informed decision.
So how much money are you talking about now that we have to pay South Central in advance?
$280,000 annually is the rate for 2019.
No, I'm talking about how much they wanted per month in advance in the last one.
This one is like $23,000 a month.
So if I was against 27, so they think 23 gonna make me change my mind? Okay? If I didn't want to give you 27 for something you didn't do, why you think 23 gonna make me want to give you 23,000 for something you didn't do? It's the same format, the same argument, okay? And the argument that they don't understand is we're not in favor, according to the district attorney and the case that they use, Cabela, we cannot give them money for service they haven't done. So whether they change it to 10,000 or 5,000, the legal aspects still remain the same, that you can't give it to them for work they haven't done. So they can drop it down to $1,000. You still be breaking the law and doing the wrong thing.
Mr. Malik?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to table this item, provide the district attorney's office with time to review the document. We can, August 14th is the next meeting. So this is an important thing here. I think we need to resolve this. However,
can we finish the discussion before you table it?
Okay.
Wait,
however,
hold on. That's the man that controlled the meeting, as far as I know. And there's a motion on the floor.
Correct.
Right? Okay. Now, he wasn't even finished talking, and because trying to stop a motion a second before we get there.
Well,
now, that's interfering in meeting.
Okay, Mr. Malik have a motion on the floor.
So how? Yeah, hang on. Okay. So yeah, just one moment. However, this is an important item, and I think at the end of the day, this is going to benefit the parish. Continued discussion right now, I don't really see this as being beneficial to anyone here, but I think it's important for the district attorney's office to review the document and to provide their input into it.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a second by Mr. Madair. Use your lights.
So it don't go nowhere. Next on the agenda.
No, he didn't table it, so you can finish discussion? Right.
No.
Okay, because I had something to say. He made a motion and tabled it. It didn't pass, so it's still.
Okay, you want to discuss something?
I don't want to discuss it any longer. I do think the district attorney needs the time to review the document, but there's some misinformation being provided, and I just wanted to clarify it. The opinion that was received was from the Attorney General. That is that's the top attorney in the state of Louisiana that specifically looked at whether or not it was illegal to enter into these types of agreements, and they ruled that it's not illegal, that it is not illegal to enter into the types of agreement with South Central. The other component that the district attorney requested, and we did a similar thing for the Tesh Action Clinic, was to determine whether or not the cost benefit benefited the parish. So as you did with Tesh and you approved it, we received a letter from their auditor verifying the value of their service, and this council approved it. We actually got an independent organization through UL to complete a cost-benefit analysis, which showed the value that we were getting for the dollar. So that's different information from what we had initially. That was what you requested. Again, so at the time, it was a new plan to move to a pro rata share, and in the document it indicated after each year of service, they would review the cost and make adjustments to your rate based on your prior year's performance. As a result, the rate decreased this year because there were fewer permits. Again, it's a monthly rate. We pay lots of people monthly before we get the service. We pay our insurance monthly, and sometimes we don't use it at all. So there are plenty of things that we pay on a monthly basis that's divided over time that you may not get a full month service, but over the year, it's an annual contract. So I just wanted to provide that. There's nothing illegal about what was being done. The Attorney General, which is the top attorney in the state, has ruled that it's not illegal. The CBA from the University of Louisiana has indicated that there's the benefit outweighs the cost to the parish. As the director of the department, South Central has continued to provide that service, and it's a much-needed service, and the director is advocating for it. Well, your table fell, so you can just leave it, but I do think the district attorney's office, and maybe you all, because I think the opinion was sent to you guys months ago. The CBA is new, but the opinion saying that it was legal is not new. It's been done for months. All of you got it. You may, we may want to resend it, or did you resend it?
Yes.
So again, there's several documents included that are new compared to where we were last time. So that was just my clarification, but I agree with Mr. Malik. If the district attorney needs time to address it, obviously there's not enough people here to pass anything. So I'm good with moving forward, but I just want to clarify the misinformation that was provided.
And thank you. Look, we have overextended. We need to go to the next item.
Absolutely.
Okay, next item is Duran Cooper. Authorization to enter into a commercial lease agreement with Greenie Epsville PLLP for the property formerly used as the St. John the Baptist Parish Senior Citizen Center.
Good evening, Council. This agreement will allow the use of the property formerly used as the St. John the Baptist Parish Senior Center, located at 155 East 3rd Street in Edgar, Louisiana. The rental period will be from September 10, 2018 to November 10, 2018 at a cost of $1,800 per month. The lease agreement was sent to legal counsel for review, and administration recommends approval.
Okay, we heard from administration.
Yes. Once again, you see, it's misleading when you say this was sent to administration for review. When? Once again, late. Okay, that's the key thing. Late. It's sent for review, and then they want the council to vote on something legal. They haven't had a chance to sufficiently look at it. Okay, that's not how this is supposed to work. Okay, you get your information, you send it to them in a timely manner, so they can look at it and report back to us in a timely manner. Everything is off time, off beat. Okay, if this was a band, you would never get hired anyway. Everything would be off tune, out of whack. Okay, that's not how it's supposed to work. Not the day of, the day before, in a timely manner. I know everybody understand what that is, a timely manner. That you get something to someone who have a chance to look at it, digest it, and come back and give us a legal opinion. That's the problem.
Mr. Becknell, then Mr. Snyder.
It's not the item itself. It's not the item itself. I'm pretty sure everybody agree with some of the items. It's how it's being done.
Okay, two statements. What are they going to use this? Who is this? Who are these people?
It's an attorney firm. They have must have a major trial coming up at the Edgar Courthouse, and they want to use it as temporary office space.
Okay, I understand that.
For meetings and everything during the course of the trial.
Okay, and I've been listening tonight, and a lot of stuff, you know, legal, I respect them, but, you know, they pass the opinion, and it's not, they just advise us, but I'm sure their intent is that we don't have to agree with everything they say, because if that's the case, legal running the council. And I'm not going to, you know, if I got something to say and I disagree with legal, I'm going to disagree. But I'm not just going to, you know, with all due respect to Mr. Madare, every time they say no, 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 whatever, that don't mean I have to say no. But my question is this, too, what I want to ask administration, and I think this would clear up a lot of stuff. Why are they getting these documents like the day of, or couldn't they get it like 3 days in advance? I agree with you on that. So why are they getting it the day of? So that seems to be a big problem.
It is a problem because there's a lot of things going on. That. And again, because we go back and forth with them for 2 weeks, 2 months, whatever, like trying to finalize the document is difficult. again, and in preparation to try and get one right that, they don't change their mind on, it does take long. It is not acceptable. Part of this was I was out of town. And thinking that the staff had sent it, well, they waited for me to look at it before they sent it. So they did send it late. And some of that was because I hadn't reviewed it. I assumed they sent it. They said, no, we held on to it until you got back and looked at it. So that's why these documents are late, because I had not reviewed them, and so they didn't send them. So that's specific to this case. Some of it is going back and forth and trying to get the document right. This is not the only thing we do. Okay, now granted, this is a very important thing that we do, which is finalizing documents, but we go back to what are you approving? If you look at the charter, you are authorizing us to enter into an agreement. You either authorize it or you don't. You're not authorizing the document. That's not what you're doing. You're authorizing, you're saying either you want us to lease the building or you don't. If you okay with us leasing it, then you vote for it. And then you allow us to work out the actual document. There appears to be some confusion as to what y'all voting on. And again, your authority lies in whether or not you're authorizing the parish to enter into an agreement. That's it. Not what the document says, not what the paper says. That's what the attorney and client works out, because things change. I'm sure you guys would rather collect the $1,800. Again, there was some discussion. It did take a while. Mr. Cooper thought, well, look, we don't really come before the council with the community center. Maybe we can just lease this the same way. But after looking at it, we have an agreement with the Tourist Commission that allows us to do that with the community center. And they were thinking we could just go ahead and sign this, but then we couldn't. So there are a lot of situations that change what we typically do, and this was one of them. Again, this firm wants to utilize a space that's vacant, pay us for it to put them in a position to do their trial. And that's all we're asking, is for the authority to lease that building. The document itself can be worked out with legal counsel. I think it's straightforward. And it is late. And as I said, it's late because I wasn't here until Monday, and Deanna held on to it until I saw it.
Okay. Mr. Snyder?
Have we figured out how much, what the expense of the building is?
The
The monthly expenses compared to what we're charging to use the building. Because I understand we're using it for $1 a square foot, 1,800 square feet, but we paying all expenses.
Well, we have our insurance, the insurance on the building. I mean, it's not in use, so it's very minimal. I'm sorry?
Utilities too, I think.
Yeah, very minimal
I read
utilities.
the contract. Actually, those people not paying anything. But that's why I was asking, what are we getting anything out of it? We just let them use it, but we spend all, they're paying the expenses, that's it.
I mean, we like I said, the building is not in use right now. We have very minimal utilities on it. I can pull the records and get the actual use of what it is right now vacant. We do have I think it's, I'm sorry?
Of the 1,800 square feet, to cool that building down and in and out all day. Well, I was just wondering, because I saw that when I was reading the contract.
You know where the number came from?
We're paying all the expenses.
Right.
Yes.
Just for clarification, we got the number from the previous calculation we did for Tesh with a realtor who established the basic rate for office space in the area. So that's how we use the I think it's $1 per square foot based on the square footage of the building. As Mr. Cooper said, we're paying for insurance, whether it's vacant or not. We're paying for utilities, all those things are running. So we're paying for that whether they're there or not. What we're looking to get is $1,800 a month for them to utilize that space, which obviously they're not going to be in it the whole time. They're going to be in the courtroom. But they wanted a space close to where they were working to be able to prepare for their case. So what we're looking at getting $1,800 a month for use of the facility when we were getting nothing.
So again, I asked the question, have we figured out the expenses on that building yet? I mean, when you're looking at it, anytime you rent a building, you want to make a profit on it, because there'll be some wear and tear on it regardless. If they're going to rent that size building for 2 or 3 months, it can be some wear and tear on it. And I was just asking that, looking at the contract, we're going to pay everything. They have all they got to do is just move in it.
Like I said, Councilman Snyder, we will be paying the insurance, and I mean, I can't say how much of the electrical bill will be. I can pull the historical records on the building. Like Parish President said, they won't be in the building all day long. It's just a break area where they can recess and gather during the course of the trial. And we did call around and we got, you know, the what would be a reasonable lease rate for that area, and it was based at $1 per square foot on a building.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Martin?
Yes. So you're saying we're not gonna make any money off of this?
I'm not saying that we're not gonna make any money off it.
$1,800 a month is what we're gonna make.
What we gonna make?
$1,800 a month.
$1,800 a month? And you say we got to pay for insurance, right?
We're already paying for that.
Yeah,
It's our building.
it's our building.
And we keep it insured, we keep it running, so, you know, that it doesn't deteriorate. So we continue to keep water, we continue to keep air, all the utilities, and we pay for insurance. So all of those were expenses we'd be paying whether it's empty or full. So the addition is we're gonna get $1,800 a month for use of that, building to facilitate a trial in the courthouse, which is next door.
Okay, just one other thing. I think you said something about we vote for y'all to work out agreements?
No, I said you authorize whether or not the parish, you approve the parish entering into an agreement with anyone, an entity, a company, a person, or whatever. That is
Right.
the actual vote.
Okay.
And the actual document is not what you're voting on.
Okay, so as far as the actual document, when do we become aware of what's actually in the document?
Actually,
After we vote?
you actually have a draft in your booklet.
Mhm,
It's a draft,
Right.
okay, which means it's
So
not
everything's
final.
gonna be in there.
You know, it means it's not final. It's a draft that it could change. And so when you vote on things contingent upon changes by the district attorney, you're well within your legal rights. Your authority is whether or not you want us to allow use of that facility to attorneys for the courtroom, and then the district attorney will finalize the document protecting both, you know, the parish with regard to liability.
So we're dealing with lawyers this time, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, attorneys would like to use the building next to the courthouse for their trial. And just for informational purposes, we took a trip to St. Martin Parish because we have a major trial that's going to be there, and met with their governing authority who will be allowing us to use space for our trial. Again, whether there's a charge or not, there was a meeting down there. It happens, okay? It's just a lot easier to be close to your facility or have an office close to where you're going to be conducting court. So we didn't see anything wrong with it. It's an opportunity to make money on a building that's just sitting there, and
And that is for 2 months? For 2 months?
2 month period.
Yes.
2 month period, okay. Okay,
I'm finished.
we need a motion,
No, I ain't made no motion on that.
and I'll second it. Use your lights?
Would you vote yes?
Yes.
Okay, put yes on there.
Yes.
thank you.
Carries 6 in favor with 3 absent.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn?
All right.
Motion by Mr. Becknell, second by Mr. Mallett.
Let me take a 5-minute break. Yeah, we got it. We got 5 minutes. Meeting, regular meeting Tuesday, July 24th. Okay, a motion to go back in. Motion by Mr. Mallett, second by Mr. Becknell. Use your lights.
That carries 5 in favor with 4 absent.
5 in favor with 4 absent. Okay, first, before we start this meeting, I just want to make a comment concerning with public comments. Okay, I want to make sure and explain that public comments is only 2 minutes per items on this agenda. Okay, because I think a lot of you are aware of, we had a problem at the last meeting, and I do expect the citizens of St. John the Baptist Parish to come up there and voice their opinion, but only on items that's on the agenda. It's not going to ever change that you're going to talk about something just because you want to talk about it. Only the items that's on this agenda. Okay, and I don't want that kind of situation to happen again. I didn't enjoy doing what I had to do. Okay, but I'm not afraid of doing what I have to do. Okay, to make sure this meeting is run orderly, and that's not only for the citizen, council members, and myself included. Okay, so we can move on to the, like I said, 2 minutes only for anyone that want to talk about anything on the agenda. Okay, no one. Moving on, we have the consent agenda item, approval of minutes, July 10th, 2018 regular meeting, permit approval, 45th annual St. John Parish Undoing Festival, October 19th through the 21st, 2018. Okay, I need a motion. Motion by Mr. Becknell, second by Mr. Sarapru. Any discussions? Okay, use your light. Oh, open to the public. Okay, nothing to the public? Okay, use your lights, please.
That carries 6 in favor with 3 absent.
Okay, that's passed, 6 in favor with 3 absent. Next on the agenda is public hearing on ordinance. We don't have any. Okay, committee reports. Okay, Mr. Larry. Funny.
Put your microphone on.
Right.
Motion to approve the minutes from the finance meeting.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, motion by Mr. Sarapru, second by Mr. Snyder. Use your lights, please.
That carries 6 in favor with 3 absent.
6 in favor with 3 absent. Old business, Mr. Larry Sarapru, it's a table item. You want to leave that table?
Yes, leave it there.
Okay, we'll leave that table. New business is Ms. Natalie Robotham, resolution R 18-21, a resolution authorizing the parish president to execute all documents on behalf of St. John the Baptist Parish with Waterford 3 steam electrical generation plant for continuous public safety and emergency planning related to the Waterford 3 nuclear plant.
Yes, this resolution allows the parish president to sign all documents necessary to continue preparing, maintaining, and implementing procedures for response to emergencies at Waterford 3 Steam Electric Generation Plant with an increase in payment of $160,000 from the current $135,000 per year. Once approved, the increased payments would begin in the third quarter, which would be like now, of 2018. The resolution wasn't finalized until yesterday, and I think we forwarded it to Ms. Landash for numbering, at which time a copy was also forwarded to the council. This agreement has been in place, I think, since 1994. Initially, LP&L helped to fund a portion of construction of the current EOC. The amount that has been provided to the parish has been the same since 2004. I think Mr. Perilou, we want to thank him for negotiating with LP&L or Waterford to have that increase because public safety is very important. It takes a lot of time. They've done a good job. We've passed all of the I guess, I'm not sure what you call them, but annually they come in and evaluate the operations. They've done a good job, and as I said, the amount hadn't increased in several years, and to go from 135 to 160 we think is a very good deal, and we thank Mr. Perilou for his efforts.
Okay, you heard from administration. Motion by Mr. Snyder, second by Ms. Remedy. Any question? Okay, use your lights, please.
That carries 6 in favor with 3 absent.
Okay, yeah. We gotta go into executive session. No, we gotta end it before.
Okay. All right,
Let's do it now.
I'd like to make a motion that we amend the agenda to include the following item in executive session. Strategy discussion regarding R.O. Ben Estate, Second LLC, ETL versus St. John the Baptist Parish, ETL, case number 69795, divisionaire relative to the judgment rendered on July 3rd, 2018 in a 40th District Court.
This is just to add this to the
Add to the agenda. Need a second on that. Second by Mr. Becknell. Any questions? Okay, use your lights.
That carries 6 in favor with 3 absent.
There are 6 in favor with 3 absent. It's added to the session. Okay, now we're back to the regular. Next is departmental engineering report. Okay, I don't have any of that. Mr. Larry Sarapu, it's a table item, possible withdrawal from Rural Parish Tourist Commission. Leave that table. Okay, Mr. Robert Figueroa, monthly financial report.
Thank you, Councilman. Per the new state agreed-upon procedures for government audits, the council must acknowledge receipt of the monthly budget-to-actual financials in their meeting minutes. The June 2018 financials were emailed to the council on July 22nd, 2018, in a slightly different format. We anticipate the format changing with the final implementation of Munis.
Okay, you heard from administration on that? You need to approve it, right?
No, ma'am. There's technically no approval needed. It's
No
just an
approval.
acknowledgement that you all received it.
Okay.
And just it has to be in the meeting minutes once a month that you all receiving the reports.
Okay. All right. Okay. Next on the agenda is Mr.
Smart there? Update on drainage and road repair in District 3.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna let him answer. The contractor is working to complete the punch list item and begin final cleanup on all streets listed in the 2018 road improvement program. We are still awaiting photos of the pre and post work from CJ Sidewalk Consultant, but the estimated completion should be within 2 weeks, weather permitting. Mr. Jones can come in and add on to this.
Yes, and we have compiled all the photos. I need to get those over to Bailey, as she did request them. As he stated, they are in the process of working on the punch list items. They have about, I would say, of the total list that we sent out, they have about 4 or 5 items remaining. They are working daily. We've been in constant contact with them, and they are addressing all of the issues as we have listed in the punch list, as well as anything that has come up since. Just as you are aware, with that punch list, we are withholding a retainage on that, plus the additional standard 5% retainage. We're holding just under $80,000 in retainages from invoices, from the invoice that's been submitted, and we will continue to hold that until everything has been addressed to the council, as well as the contract satisfaction. Excuse me. Any questions?
No, I'd just like to say, first I want to thank Mr. Verdell, Mr. Savoy, and yourself for staying on top of that punch list, and working, with myself and the other council members. And also Coastal, they got off to a shaky start, okay, but they have been really trying. Like I see them every day, they're working on the punch list, and I see some of the corrections being made. So I will commend them on the fact that they're trying to eliminate the problems that was cited, by Mr. Verdell, Mr. Savoy, and myself, that they're working on the punch list. So I will give them an A for that effort, okay, but they don't graduate until it's complete.
Yes, sir.
Then they get their diploma, okay, they don't graduate until it's complete. So we will have a final run-through to make sure everything is done right.
Yes, sir. We're staying on them. We're staying, as I said, we're staying in constant contact with them. So as something is completed, we will do another final walkthrough, if you will, with you once we're satisfied that everything is complete. If there's something else that we see fit needs to be addressed, we will address it immediately.
And this last, well, we'll check on that, but I want to commend them. They reported a mailbox that they damaged. They replaced that real quick, so I'll commend them for that. And like I said, Mr. Verdell and Mr. Savoy for standing on top of everything for us. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, next was also Mr. Mardell, an update on Chad B. Baker Street drainage study.
As discussed last year at the council meeting, the parish engineer drafted a report that was distributed on July 10, 2017. Based on a preliminary review of the report and comparison with similar projects, the estimated cost of the project ranges from $750,000 to $1 million. Funding for this project has not yet been identified. In the interim, Public Works cleaned ditches and covers along Chad Baker to mitigate drainage issues.
Okay, the reason why I put that on there, we had a little rain episode about a week ago, and I checked with Travis exactly how much rain did we get in that amount of time, and we got 0.2 inches of rain. I mean, not even an inch of rain, a point two. Okay, and Chad B. Baker and East 26th Street was completely flooded. That wasn't even an inch of rain, and it wasn't even an hour. Okay, and I have pictures of those situations. Okay, now if that had been 3 inches of rain or 4 inches of rain, we'd have had a lot of people got some water in their house. So something is plugged up bad on those streets. And Chad B. Baker been a street that was under review when Mr. Wolf was in, because I pulled up information that he had done on that street, and I had Mr. Savoy did one on my request, and then the parish paid $150,000 for someone to go in and tell us the exact same thing. What's wrong with that street? Okay, and like I said, not even an inch of rain. Okay, and you might not be familiar with it, but it's the second or third house down at Chad B. Baker where Mr. Kerry Goff live at, going that way, completely flooded. Across the road, the whole people's yard was flooded. Water's not going anywhere. And the same thing on 26th Street. And that wasn't even an inch of rain, okay? Because I knew it couldn't have been an inch of rain because it didn't rain that long, but it ran hard. And that's why I found out exactly, because I didn't want to come here and say I'm arguing over 2 inches of rain that fell in a half an hour. 2 inches of rain in a half an hour is a lot of rain. But we didn't even come close to an inch. Okay, so that's a serious problem on Chad B. Baker Street and on East 26. It is well documented, okay, and I think it's time that we do something, you understand? That $150,000 would have been well spent finding some of the real bad pipes and taking those out and replacing them, because there's a serious problem on 26 and Chad B. Baker. And I think we need to find out if we have to send the trucks in that area and find out what's misaligned or what's blocked up. In fact, I got a call from a Mr. Triplet who lived on 26th Street, and he was complaining about that. It starts from his house up to where Mr. Collette lived at. Used to fix right up in that area, from that almost from Sweet Lorraine up to that house there, completely inundated with water. So something underneath on the left side going to the back is not allowing the water to flow. Something, I don't know what it is. And we've been there on 26 and Chad B. Baker, only two. Terrible.
Question. That 150, where they came from, the $150, where they came from? The study
Well, whatever it wasn't cheap. And that's what I was told. That study would cost $150,000 that we did on that survey. Had that company survey that street. They took them several weeks to do it. That was about over a year ago. Okay, we paid a firm to go down there and tell us what was wrong with Chad B. Baker. Okay, and we paid that firm to do it. Okay, and they did it. It took them almost 3 weeks or a month. and that's what he came back with, the report said.
Can you give us that information? Because I'm not recalling
I'm
that.
gonna get it for you.
Thank
But,
you.
And again, since when it happened, you know, you and I spoke about that. And I just sent my crew down there to start cleaning up some of those covers and ditches and stuff. But again, you've got to realize that, you know, much as we clean up, the residents still have to help.
Oh.
It's a big issue we have, you know, on not just Chad Baker and 26, but a lot of streets in the, you know, in the parishes. And if they can help us out some, maybe we may not have as much issue of a drainage problem. It'll help up a lot if they'll come out and do the, you know, see trash in the ditch, pick it up. That's
Yeah,
all we ask.
and Mr. Riddell, let me tell you something. I got a lot of respect for you, and you'd really help us out a whole lot, just like I mentioned. Okay, but I took office here in 2012, and I said in 2012 up until now, it's a three-headed monster. I said it in 2012, and I say it again. There's the railroad, there's the citizen who live in the parish, and there's the parish itself. Okay, we are parish. I can't even tell you how many covers we have in St. John the Baptist Parish. We have one truck. Okay, impossible to keep up. You got the West Bank and the East Bank, and we have one truck. Okay, can't possibly keep up. And you have residents, like you say, dumping trash by the truckload in the ditches and everything. I understand that. So they're part of it. They're part of it. The railroad is a big part of it, and the parish itself. The parish don't have enough equipment or enough manpower to keep up with it. I understand that, okay? But what we have to do once we identify an area like a Chad B. Baker and like a 26th Street, we have to try to find something to relieve those immediate areas, because those two areas is like Homewood. It's not if they're gonna flood, it's when they're gonna flood, as soon as the rain comes. And what really set me off on that one, we didn't get an inch of rain. And that area on Chad B. Baker, people couldn't get out their yard. And on 26th Street, this guy who have this trailer, his trailer is leaning. His whole yard is washing away because the water actually go in his property, and when it drains out, it takes everything off his property with it. Okay, it's something on 26th from that trailer to Sweet Lorraine. It's only on that left side. The other side is draining. There's something on that side that's stopping that water and it's backing up. And it's not the fact that the water is not trying to flow, because once the ditch fills up, the water travels out the guy's yard and go down the street. So it's trying to get to the bank.
Okay.
You know,
I'll look into that.
so we see what's the problem on that street.
I'll look at it tomorrow and see what's going on with that.
Mr. Roboto?
I think Verdell's probably familiar with where you are, but if you can get the addresses or have Jackie and them find out, I know you know the names of the people, so he can look at the exact location. And I have a question, Travis, he left out?
He left out.
With regard, is that a recurring problem? Because, you know, or is this something new that's just happening? Because I don't, like in terms of like Mr. Goff's property. I don't recall that
It's
coming.
a recurrent problem.
Okay.
But see, Mr. Goff property was never mentioned per se. It was always the lady who lived next door to him, Cookie, you know, Miss Mitchell, right? She's the one. If you go in front of our house right now, she has sandbags in front of her garage.
And her garage is low, right?
Right.
Okay.
So every time it rains, it's a recurring problem. But you know, it really inundate
that area now.
The Mr. Goff area, because he can't get out of his house at all.
Okay.
He have to wait till it go down.
All right.
Okay.
I just didn't remember that.
Right.
that-
You didn't mention Mr. Goff because we always refer to
Okay.
Miss Mitchell.
Okay, if you can just, well, I think you know where that one is, but on the other street, 26, I
Right.
think you referenced a couple of things. Just give a vicinity there, and it's just on the left side of the road.
It's on
So
that left
clearly,
side.
if the right's
The right side
draining, then,
drain
you know, we
pretty
need to
good,
look
it's
at
the left
something
side.
on the left.
But I never heard with 26 at all. We had never heard anything.
No, I brought you to 26 before. That was a few years ago. Okay, and I brought you 26. In fact, we met out there a couple of times when water was going into the sewer. It was coming out that yard and going into the sewer. I probably forgot about it because I think y'all did attempt to do some work on it at that time. Okay, but it's I think it's a little further down because it backs up. Okay. All right. Thank you.
I think that's on 26th Street, in that area right there, it's about 100 yards, 150 yards of subsurface drainage, and I think a few of those are plugged up. Because the other day when it rained, I happened to be back there, and water coming out one of the drain hole back into the street, going down and going into another drain hole. And if you go back there when it's ran like that, then you can see exactly where it's plugged up at. And when you get down the street, all the work was done there, hardly no water around at all.
Right, the drainage to the back of the street worked fine.
Worked fine, all the way up to Sweet Lorraine.
Yeah,
And
that's Sweet Lorraine.
I mean, it's really sad over there. Okay, anything else? Okay,
Send the man back.
oh, I'm next, take that.
Okay, next on the agenda is Mr. Larry Snyder, discussion relative to the water meter register, to the water meter register consultant support financing for the next 20 years.
You don't need to read all of this. If anybody want to read, if you think it need to be read, that's fine. I understand. And really, I put it on there so we can just stay abreast with where we are. And this is not for us. This is for the people at home who have who's concerned about this. I got a call from a lady. It made sense. So I really want you to kind of expand on this a little bit about the 3 years that we contract with, we will have with the people whoever we get these meters. If we decide to go with these AMRs, if we decide to go with those, whoever we get those meters for, they will only be here for 3 years. Am I understanding that right?
That's just written into the initial construction cost and contract. So that is a contract, an individual contract that we expect and intend on extending. But under the initial project, we're putting a 3-year term on that maintenance program, which will be funded through a 20-year DEQ loan. Everything after that 3 years will be a contract that we would come before you guys to extend or to enter into, and it would have to be paid out of pocket.
And that's exactly what the point was brought to me when and I said, well, you know what, I'm not quite sure, but it makes sense what the lady was telling me. And the fact that after 17 years, it's going to cost us $30 million for these things. If we go about what it's going to cost us for these 3 years for someone in there.
The cost that the analysis that y'all did receive on the 20-year analysis in that meeting actually has that factored in to the 20-year life of the number that's at the end of it. So if you go into each breakdown of each one, you'll see that there is a maintenance contract item that is broken down, that is expanded over that 20-year life. So those numbers that we gave at the final thing does in fact factor in an extended contract through the life of that project, or the life of those meters.
I was concerned about the cost.
Yes, sir.
Over 20 years.
Yes, sir.
And I know you gave us some numbers of 19,000, I think, 19 million.
Yeah, you're right.
For 20 years. But according to my constituent, it's way more than ever when you start doing some numbers. And that's why I put this on here to get up some let this council see where will this cost us $30 million, $36 million in 20 years if we keep the people here to help us, the consultant to help us. Because the last time we did this, we dropped the contract after 3 years. And I'm thinking it because of what the cost would be. You see? That's why they did it. It was way before our time. I know before your time too.
Yes, sir.
Now, can you tell me if we keep this thing for 20 years, what will it cost this parish if we go with this AMRs?
I mean,
we're saying $6 million now.
Again, the $6 million is the initial investment that also gives us a 3-year contract. So then you need a contract for 17 more years, and that is expanded upon in the numbers that were delivered to y'all. In fact, the consulting engineer and myself did independent cost analysis on that and came within a couple $1 million of each other on what those numbers came out to be projected.
So that number you gave us
includes, yes, sir.
It includes a 20-year
maintenance. Yes, sir.
20
Yes,
year.
sir. And if you want to, Rob is here tonight, so if he wants to elaborate what all he's included in that, but in our initial discussions and my review of it, that's what's included as well.
What will be in the first 3 years contract with the maintenance contract? What is that?
It's the same contract. We're just asking to get that pricing up front, so those first 3 years are held at a certain price, and we can spread that. Because the loan money's paying for that, we're allowed to spread that over 20 years, whereas any other maintenance contract for the next 17 years, we have to come out of our operating budget. So it gives us 3 years to establish ourselves and define that contract amount that we're going to need to continue to pay over the next 17 years.
So, Rob here, can he kind of
Rob,
shed a little bit more light on that?
Sure.
On those next 17 years?
Good evening, Rob DeLon, Digital Engineering. We did look into the annual support and maintenance, and each year annually, the annual support and maintenance, that's going to be on the software side for the AMI system, and the cloud hosting service is going to be $20,000 per year. So what we did is we set up the project where the initial bid by the winning vendor and contractor is going to include 3 years of that support and maintenance that allows the parish to get the system set up, learn the system, get trained in the system, because that includes the training and everything. And then once the system's up and running, after that 3rd year, as Blake explained, the parish will continue that annual maintenance contract. And that's going to be approximately $20,000 per year annually, which we included in that 20-year financial analysis. So that cost over the 20 years was included in the 20-year financial analysis, along with, you know, the vehicles, the fuel, the vehicle maintenance that you would need, the personnel that you would need. So we considered all those things over the 20-year financial analysis that allowed us to come up with that final number for the AMI system, for the manual read system, in-house, the manual read contractor system. We did consider all of those factors.
Oh, okay, because I was just under the impression that, not under the impression, I was told, I didn't look at the numbers myself, but they came up with some number like a $30-some million. I said, well, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money for 20 years to keep the contract for the 20 years.
We did a detailed analysis to make sure that we could come here and confidently tell the council and the residents that the AMI system would be the most cost-effective system over the next 20 years for this parish.
Well, good. That's what I want to hear, and that's exactly why I had it on the agenda. So the people who brought this to my attention, you'd explain it to them also. That's exactly just that. Appreciate that.
Mr. Sarabro? Yes, I got a call about that same situation, Rob, and for council members here. I think $20,000 a year for a maintenance contract is something that we really got to take a hard look at. Because do we have a contract right now for maintenance with anybody?
No, not for that. We have maintenance contracts that we piggyback off of or we utilize on an as-needed basis, but we don't have a system like this operating.
Okay. Can we pull somebody else up here? They don't have any maintenance contracts, but we have agreements with Motorola and our 911 system that you guys approve maintenance contracts, and I was just asking, what does that cost? Because in order to keep, you know, the radios, the 911 equipment, we do pay annually maintenance agreements because those are very important systems that need to operate. And I was just asking Kane if he knew what those costs were for a maintenance contract for just those systems.
Yeah, system-wide is about $200,000 in maintenance contracts. We pay to keep all that stuff running.
How much?
About $200-something thousand, system-wide for everything. 911 center towers, radios, all of that good stuff.
And we're talking $20,000 a year for the 17,000 meters.
Yeah, but I guess my question is, we don't have a maintenance contract right now on the water meters with anybody right now.
No, that's correct,
Okay.
which is the problem.
So,
like several years ago, when the system was put in place, they should have continued that agreement, but it was discontinued shortly after. So possibly we would not be where we are. So I think the team is saying they think it's very important to continue or maintain this maintenance contract throughout the life of the meters, so we have that support. 20,000 does seem high, but when you look at what we're doing and the number of meters we're dealing with and how important the system is, it relatively isn't, especially when you look at what we're paying for, you know, another system, which is just as important, but it's a maintenance fee, it's required, we need those systems to operate, we need our meters to operate properly as well.
And so in a perfect world, that line item would already be on our maintenance budget. If we would have continued that maintenance through this time period now, it would just be shifted over to the new system as the new system's implemented. So unfortunately, because we didn't continue that on, that they don't have anything allocated, but it is a necessary component to not, you know, go down the same path we did.
Gotcha.
Tell me this. Tell me this. How would that have helped us if we had that maintenance contract right now?
It wouldn't have helped as much right now. We wouldn't have gotten, in my opinion, wouldn't have got to this point because we would have, a yearly audit of the system would have allowed us to change out and monitor and address these issues in a smaller scale. And I guess what we had to do was address this on a much larger scale that we were already behind 8 ball. So I think you would have caught some of maybe the issues we were seeing earlier on, and really isolated those issues, whereas they spread out a little bit. Yeah, I think we're still changing out the whole we're still in talk. We would have still been at this juncture talking about a new system because the system would be old and but it would be in a lot maybe
so this
foot
contract,
forward. Yeah.
This contract is a software contract, and they could just monitor things.
Yeah, and what they allow us, do they help us track like our reporting and everything? If we're not running the right reports, to go out and send our own personnel to check. Hey, look, they could see our data, so they would be able to say, hey, look, I see that you have a lot of 0 reads. Are you sending people out there to go check these? Because if you do it 1 month and it's 100, and the next month it's 500, something's going on that needs to be addressed in the field, not necessarily from a tower perspective. So they're going to be able to put eyes on that and refer to our staff to help our staff integrate and manipulate and work that system.
And all that could be done from our hardware here.
We all do, yeah. We'll be doing our own. They have, because it's much like Munis. It's kind of a cloud-based technology. They'll be able to access that with the right logins from. They don't have to be sitting with us to help us. So it's a third party.
Okay, Mr. Mallett.
The total cost of this system over the 20-year period is what?
The physical numbers were given on the 26th.
Projected.
I think this one's close to 19 for the full AMI system, if I'm not mistaken.
19 million?
19 million, yes,
So,
sir.
okay, so if the 19 million over a 20-year period is more cost-effective than revamping the current system or using the contractors, or some kind of combination of contractors and parish employees?
And that's what that breakdown that Rob and them did gives us. It gives us the overall projections with the big categories, and then if you flip that packet deeper into it, it goes down to a breakdown of each individual lump sum number and how it came up to that. So they itemize it a little more detailed individually.
Okay.
So the cover sheet is just the total, and then each one behind it is each of those systems and how they're broken out and how much money it's going to cost for different items.
But overall, and just smack me if I'm going off there, but the current plan is to install 17,000 plus registers in a 12-month period.
Meters. Full-blown system, yes, sir.
Okay, full-blown system.
Right, which would be the meters, the tower, installing towers, the whole 9 yards.
So, what is the plan to prevent a reoccurrence of what we're facing right now?
Typically,
so
right.
we're gonna put all these devices in. They're all gonna be on the same. I don't know what kind of batteries they have, lithium or whatever the best technology is now. So the expectation is that these devices are going to start failing in a relatively short period of time. So I guess we either pay up front to spread this out over several years, or we're going to have to project down the road, 15 years down the road, so that we start changing these things out now, so that the parish is not faced with this, oh, by the way, we need $20 more million to replace everything.
And so I think there's a lot of different municipalities that are in similar positions and have made different decisions. To alleviate this issue for the now is to get it in the ground and like you alluded to, looking and projecting and financing that to where you get to year 15 out of 20 year, and maybe you start on some of the areas that you've seen have had more fail than other areas, and you start with those areas and start spreading it out at that point. From an operational standpoint, I would like to see meters in the ground because of what we're going through now and what it's going to take. The longer we take to make this transition, the harder it is for the residents, the harder it is for the staff, the harder it is because of where we are at today, not in a perfect world. I know Rob and them also did a lot of research on that, so if he wants to add anything to it.
So with this new system, the way it's designed is the batteries are able to be monitored, and so the requirement in the specifications is that 1 year before the battery is going to fail, it's going to send an alert through the system saying that it has 1 year left of battery life. And then when there's 6 months left of battery life, it'll send another alert saying you have 6 months left. And at 3 months, it will send another alert. So at a minimum, you'll have a 1 year warning before it fails. However, we just talked about the support and maintenance. Continuing that support and maintenance over the lifetime of the system will allow for when we're all gone and new people are working on the system, they're still going to have access to the people who are the experts with their system and handling the system, and they're going to be, you know, there to say, look, you need to start looking at something to do with this system in probably in around year 18, where you don't have the support and maintenance contract now. So the meter and the software people are long gone, and the people who are working here weren't here when the system was installed, so they just didn't know what was going to happen.
Well, I plan on being here and relying on this 20 years from now, so I don't know if you will be. But no, and my point is I understand that that the battery is going to tell you, hey, I got a year left. But if we buy 17,500 and whatever radios, the battery is going to come from probably 3 different lots from the manufacturer. And all of these radios, if we turn them on, are all going to start dropping dead about the same period of time. So it's projecting that so that we don't have a problem a year from the drop dead date of these batteries, that something has been implemented to say, we need to do this, you know? And I think that's not really you. I think that's something that the parish needs to be cognizant of. But the folks from Santa Fe that you showed the video were very forthcoming and rather proud of it. I was hoping that their system had actually been in use longer than it has been. You know, I'd prefer to have spoken with someone from their utilities that could say, hey, we've had this thing for 10 years, and this is everything that's happened. It's working good for us, but you know, it's a rather short period of time, which I think is 3 years, 4 months, something like that. So, does it work for them? According to them, it does. Will it continue to work the same way? I certainly hope it does. But you know, once again, it's not my intent to pass down a $20 million problem to the folks that were going to be in this building next door here. I think that we either spread the funds out over, you know, we either pay beforehand or a couple years down the road. I understand that the $6 million will fund this project. However, if we do the due diligence period now, 4 or 5 years down the road, or whatever this is that we decide to break the system down into, the cost of labor and the parts is going to escalate. So I think it's just more of a statement of caution. But certainly I think that yeah, I don't see us continuing down the same road. We have to make a decision one way or another.
No, Mr. Malik covered what I had a question about. Thank you.
I just wanted to add that many times we do investments, construction investments, and we don't plan for operation and maintenance. And many times that was because we didn't have the funding. But what we are finding out is you pay now or you pay later. So it has to be a contingency. And I think many of the things that we're proposing now, we are actually considering operations and maintenance. So whether it's this system or the existing system or any of the systems, in 20 years, we'll be making some, you know, we need to consider maintenance. If it's people, if it's vehicles, if it's insurance, all of those things require plans for either replacing vehicles, replacing people, replacing meters, regardless of the system. So I do think it's important, and I think Rob and them have covered in their specs a plan to try and avoid the situation we're in, which is including maintenance of, you know, an existing system, closer monitoring, not just by us, but by a third party to help provide us some direction. And I do think it's important to maintain that type of support, because it's not just for field operations. It is for office and software operations and support. So you're correct in that that needs to take place. I think that's covered in the specifications as written, and we are, you know, as a result of what happened this time, that's at the forefront. And not to say that we didn't realize there was going to be a problem when the maintenance contract was dropped and those people were gone and the people here couldn't follow the system, but also we didn't have the money to totally replace this as quickly, the money or the people to replace the faulty systems as quickly as they were failing. Also, technology has changed from 10 years ago, and it's better. So again, rather than having people ride up and down the street, you know, to read meters, you have a system where you push a button and they're all read. So your people can be assigned to do more type of maintenance work and keeping the meters from being covered and all of those kinds of things, whereas before they were spending their time trying to get the meters read and the bills out. So I think a lot of that's been considered in this set of specifications.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of concern, because I've been speaking with a lot of people that of the total cost of this, and there's a lot of concerns within my district as well as everyone else's. It's a hot topic. So if you take the 19 million, that includes everything.
Councilman, just for clarification, it's the 20-year cost projection was 16.5.
16.5. I'm sorry.
For the AMI system.
I apologize.
16.5. This information is supposed to work the opposite way. So 16.5 million. What's a projected cost with just using the contractors?
Don't have that document.
It was.
That's the one.
Just using a manual contract and doing manual reads, the estimated 20-year projection is 19.8.
Yeah.
That's the
No, I know what the numbers are, but it's you know, everybody that's watching. Now, if you take the current system with the water metrics, I think we're looking at something like 2.5 million to replace the meters, and that's roughly, that's a guesstimate over the entire parish. What's the total projected cost for maintaining that system over the next?
That's just the registers, Mr.
That's
Mallett.
just the registers, exactly.
Not the meters.
Right, the meters would, the meters will have to
would
be replaced
yeah.
eventually as well.
The meters would be more. They have what probably, according to the manufacturer, about a 20-year shelf life.
Correct.
Those
And that
meters,
cost.
I just want to clarify, those current meters in the ground are 10-year warranty,
Yep.
and they're currently out of warranty.
No, I understood. Yeah, I understand. Yeah,
That
and
system-
we've replaced quite a few of them, and there's additional problems with them. They're not NSF 61 certified, so we certainly can't rip them out of the ground and send them back to be rehabbed. Thank you, State of California. But once again, though, having to, the thought is this, and these are the questions that I've been getting, is can the parish afford to purchase this system and install it and maintain it, or is it better to wait 2-3 years when things are a little bit different? That's the question. Who can answer that?
Well, I think the workshop answered that.
Yeah.
Because either way, we have to read meters, replace
Right.
registers, replace, and the 4 scenarios provided you that. We can continue on our path with existing employees reading and replacing meters over a 20-year life, and y'all were provided a cost for that.
Yeah.
The same thing with the 19.5 that Mr. Snyder referenced for contracting out the service over
Yeah,
a
that's
20-year
contract.
period is 19.5. So either way, you have to pay for the service.
Sure.
We're just
Oh, yeah.
trying to get the most efficient one, and I think based on what was presented to you, this was the cheaper of the 4 systems over the long haul. So again, I think in the past we've thought about we made a $6 million investment, so we're good. Well, no, we're not good. The $6 million put the system in the ground.
In the ground. They
Right,
used to have
and now
upkeep
you
and
have to
maintenance.
operate and maintain and work with, and you're going to continue to add systems as construction continues or new facilities open, when things are damaged that may not have been accounted for. So it's not a stagnant or a set fee. You know, with any of the systems we have, there's a requirement for continued maintenance, operations, and costs. And I wasn't at the meeting, but I did get a copy. Those prices were brought out across all 4 scenarios. And either way, you're going to be in the 19 over 20 years, 19, like, so what, you're spending $1 million a
Right.
year on
So-
water meter services.
Oh,
is
yeah, oh, yes,
basically-
ma'am,
or
no,
less.
but there was just a number of people that weren't able to attend that.
Right.
And I guess
that was my reasoning behind, you know, the question was, can you afford it?
Right.
And I mean, and throw in the fact that this $6 million is spread out over 20 years,
Over
whereas
20
in any
years
other
with a,
case, if we want to make a push at this and
We'd have to
invest
pay
some
for
money, we got to come out of our pockets.
Yeah.
And we've sat around here and talked about investments in water and wastewater and other areas. This gives us an avenue to spread that cost over a debt service of 20 years,
Mm-hmm.
that initial push. And it gets you 3 years into a maintenance contract without having to reach in your
Without
pocket.
having to reach
Allow
in.
us to work with finance, start finding that money, start setting it aside so that when year 4 hits, we're ready to, 1, start investing for the next 20 years, as well as pay for our yearly maintenance and continue that down the road. So.
Thank you.
Okay, any more questions? Mr. Snyder?
Yeah, the meters that we're gonna put, they're gonna be brand new meters, brand new registers, and they can be read from tower, manually, or drive-by.
Yes.
All right?
Yes, sir.
Am I right about that?
Yes, sir.
Now, does the ones we got now or the one we're getting, does water or mud affect their communication ability to the towers?
The new meters, the current meters, they don't have any sort of antenna that is under the lid. The new meters will have an antenna which boosts the signal, so it allows that signal to get through, you know, if it's covered or if it's in an area where it may have some standing water. So that has been accounted for, yes.
So now, we've had many meters that were under mud, we know that, and underwater, but they were still reading.
Right.
And that's what I'm asking right now. Will the meters we're putting in have the same capability?
Yes, they will have these,
Right.
they'll have better capability.
capability.
Yes,
That's-
they will be much better
that's what I'm trying to
capability
get out.
to
And we're
read.
hoping we're going to maintain them better too, Mr. Snyder. We shouldn't
Exactly.
allow them to get covered in mud. And if we have a system that can read it for us, then we can utilize our people to try and keep them, you know, above ground or make changes when there are problems to them that keep them working properly. In the past, we barely had enough people to read the meters, and you know, in this way, with a system, we can do what's necessary on our infrastructure to maintain or uncover or prevent them from being covered in mud or water if they need to be relocated, you know, on an ongoing basis. But clearly, you know, they have to be able to deal with water, and I think Rob.
Will y'all come up with a process to be able to do some maintenance work on these things or some PM work on these things?
Yeah.
You know, because the question someone, Mr. Malik asked, is, what we gonna do, you know?
So
in
yeah,
15 years
so
or so.
the guys that these vendors that are kind of third party watching this and kind of saying, hey, yeah, and we spoke to some consultants, you know, that give recommendations. We have 6 cycles. One of the very first things that I heard way back when we had all those vendors here was, did y'all touch every one of those meters every year? And they said no. You know, my answer was no. I don't know that we popped to the top of every meter every year. If it was reading, we didn't. Their recommendation is, you got 6 cycles, take 1 cycle a month. You touch every meter twice a year. You make sure somebody goes with the readings in hand, checks to make sure it's matching up with the electronic, and then actually cleans it out, puts the cap back on, and walks on down the road. And so that's talking about 4,000 in a whole month. That's all your assignment is to go just verify cycle one's meter boxes. So that is one of the most standardized, right off the bat. As soon as this gets put in the ground, you start doing that. Every one cycle a month gets you touching everybody's meter at least twice a year to verify that manually it's doing what it's supposed to do.
And that's the whole point. I think we need to put that in writing someplace, because, 10, 15, 20 years, we never know what's going to happen, and it could still be doing fine. But we got it in writing, whoever come behind us.
Right, and they pick up a new guy in, here's your paper, here's your assignment, this is what we expect you to do.
If we set it up right, it can take care of itself.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and the last comment, the whole discussion's been about how much the meter costs and the maintenance and everything in 20-year period. The bottom line is we can't afford not to do something.
Right.
Okay, so that's the bottom line. Whatever direction we go, we have to do something. We can't stay like we are. So I think we definitely have to do something. 16 million or 19 million, whatever it is, it will be in the millions.
I know Robert may have the answer to this one, but if we get this thing that we support, we go find all 17,000. Wouldn't that increase our revenue?
Absolutely.
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 It's been a long one, right?
Yes.
It gives financial sustainability to our operations, as well as what we discussed a lot of would push some of the sales tax reliance back into sales tax, where it can be used for better capital investments and improvements for the next 20 years.
And that along with looking at.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Next on the agenda is Mr. Larry Snyder, discussion relative to CDBG continued financing management project and contractors' involvement.
Thank you. Grant funding is available for the final phase of the CDBG housing program, and contractors are working towards completion of all the construction projects. Royal Engineering is continuing to manage the program, conduct bidding activities, and manage construction consistent with deliverables in the year 5 of their contract. Year 6, which is primarily closeout, is not funded. The contract for the inspection services for these projects was renewed during the finance meeting.
Was attempted to be renewed. It was not renewed.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It was not renewed.
No, it was not.
Okay.
Wasn't. That's right. It was not.
Royal Engineering, we're paying them, all right?
No, we paid them.
We paid them?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's why they're doing the 6th year?
No, they're doing the 5th year.
Oh, we're in the 5th year now.
Right. We paid them through 5 years, and they're completing the deliverables that was in that 5 years.
Okay, and the deliverables was?
Managing the construction, completing the bidding, because year 6 was primarily going to be closeout. But there were delays in the project, so when construction should have been going on, the state was looking at different things, and there were some delays. So people weren't actually working. So they didn't finish all the construction, so that's what's being taken care of now. That's what Pivotal is inspecting, that work as well. And the way the contract was set up at the recommendation of OCD was a monthly fee. Okay, wasn't based on how much work you did. They took, this is how much you were going to get annually each month. You're getting this, 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 and this for year 5. However, everything that was included in year 5 wasn't done, which is why they're continuing to work on it.
You know, Ms. Robart, that little bit of information right there would have gone a long way as far as to this council, as far as, satisfying us on communication from the administration to us. We did not know that. I know Larry Snyder did not know that. That's what's going on with Royal. I'm still thinking, wow, Royal not supposed to be working. We were asked to fire them. We were asked to void their contract, and then redo some bids. But now I'm hearing Roy is just still here. Now,
yeah, they were still obligated to do that work that they were paid for.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. When did all this come to light?
It never stopped, Mr. Snyder. Like, we were just trying to get it through,
We asked to get rid
because
of it?
we still haven't funded year 6. and you know, which is going to be closeout, and that's going to be key, or we may have to give it all back. Closeout is important.
You don't cloud this issue. The issue is, I understand what you're talking about there. But the issue is, Royal's still here, they're still working, but they're closing out. So why were we asked to get rid of them?
No, they're not closing out. They're not closing out. They're still constructing. They can't close out until all the construction's
I understand
finished.
that. Year 6 would be concluded.
Would have been, yeah, close out.
And
But
we paid them for
year 5.
for the project,
For year 5.
for year 5.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
And because of delays and things, okay.
They're finishing up the construction. We will still need to deal with year 6 and payment for year 6. They are not obligated.
That's clear as mud for everybody.
You understand? Okay,
No, I don't.
again,
I really don't.
for our residents, what's important to them is that they get their homes constructed. So
that's all-
the
that's the
firms are continuing to work, whether it's inspection, hopefully you guys will next time allow the owner of the company to sign his contract, and he can continue to inspect homes. We're continuing to do bidding and awarding. Our contractors are continuing to work, and we're trying to finish up these homes. Again, the closeout is not that they can't do it. They can't do it without being paid, or they're not obligated to do it without being paid. The issue it's not illegal. CDBG will not fund it. They can do it, but you're not going to be funded with CDBG dollars because you didn't follow the procurement for year 6. So that was, I think, what you were attempting to address, but the contract itself is not illegal. They're still working on year 5. Again, they weren't paid like you do 6 houses, we pay you for that. Their payments were broken up on a monthly basis, and now they're completing the work that was delayed.
So if we had gotten rid of Royal like we were asked to do, and go off for RFPs, and someone else would have gotten the project, so Royal would have been gone now?
Well, they could have, but we didn't.
We didn't let them off the hook.
Yeah, we didn't do that. You know,
Right,
they
we
could have.
didn't
They
do
could have also been back too.
Right.
Okay,
I'm not saying it
you know,
could've been back.
again,
we
when
were asked to avoid
terminate the contract,
terminate the
right.
contract.
Specifically
And then go back
because it
out for
included,
RFPs
right, specifically
for,
because it
last
included year 6 that CDBG would not pay for.
I understand that. $60-some thousand, I think it amounted to.
90
Okay,
something.
it's $90-some thousand now?
Yes.
I heard $60-some thousand.
It was always 90. Somebody kept referencing 60, but it was always 90 something.
No, it's always been 90. It's about
I think the district attorney referenced 60 some, but it was always 90 something.
Yeah, I'm just saying, my math is so bad.
Okay.
But anyhow, that's what I was concerned about. While Raw's still here, and they're still working.
Yes, sir.
The meeting the other day for the contractors, I don't know, I guess, I'm wondering why all the contractors wasn't invited. And because my understanding is not all the contractors were invited to the meeting last week. And anybody can answer that?
Yes, it is
Some
my
people that
understanding.
were already working on projects here.
It was my understanding that all of the contractors that were part of the contractors pool were invited. And I think the one that you're speaking of wasn't part of the contractors pool.
Well, contractors pool.
Yes, sir. We had a list of contractors that were eligible to work on this project.
Well, they did some work in on the project.
According to the information that I received with that particular contractor, was not a part of the contractors pool. Now, they may have been doing some work, some subcontract work, but they were not the primary contractor working on a particular home or homes.
And which contract is that? That you see?
I don't remember. I know that there was a particular contractor that was brought to my attention that stated that they were not invited. We did some investigation and found out that they were not a part of the pool.
So that means if they did work, they did it for someone else.
That's a possibility, but I do not know that for sure.
There was no contract that they had to sign.
No, sir.
With the homeowner.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, thank you.
So I have a question. So is it possible the contractor that's in the pool, they can sub some of the work out? Or they have to do it themselves?
No, I think they can have subcontractors.
Yeah, they can have subcontract, yes.
And they're responsible for them, yes.
Okay.
And that particular contractor,
But they still be held responsible for the work?
the primary contractor, yes.
Okay. So I want to make sure that they make sure that they held responsible. Now, this money, this is additional money?
No, sir,
No,
it's
sir.
the same amount, the
Same
same
amount we
money.
had, so we still fall short of the amount of money we need for those people that was here about a year ago you know, when it's someone that was supposed to raise their house and we didn't have enough money?
Right, it's still the same amount of money. We did apply for and received some additional funding, but it required a match. That's been the difficulty with our residents with elevations and severe repetitive loss. Many of them can't come up with the 25% match. So we historically have not been able to get takers on those dollars at this point. But we're going to work through the program. Hopefully some things come under and there's some funding left. And we'll, you know, continue to try and provide the money that's necessary. Out of these dollars, you know, you never know, because the state was looking at us. If we don't use ours, they're going to give them to somebody else. Okay, and so if that happens with another parish and another program, you know, we may be able to access
some extra dollars.
Some extra dollars.
Okay.
Extra dollars yet?
Always.
Had to give us I'm sorry?
Always.
Have they talked to us?
Like getting it from y'all?
Who could throw Ike money?
I'm
Try
sorry.
to get some of that money?
Actually, I was at a meeting with the GOSEP representative, and he talked specifically about funding that's available and parishes not being able to spend it because they don't have the match. So we're always looking for other opportunities to bring money down to the parish. We've been successful at doing that. When parishes aren't able to spend the dollars they are awarded and they go back to the state, well, you know, if it's an eligible project, we have benefited from some of those dollars in the past, and we're going to continue to pursue them.
So they haven't told us anything yet?
No, we haven't got.
Said, yes, you got it?
No, not yet.
Mr. Sarapu.
So in an event that we get some more funding to come in, would Royal automatically be the person in line to be the receiver and execute those funds?
Well, they don't receive the dollars. The dollars are at OCD. When work is done, invoices are submitted directly to our office and approved into OCD, and they're paid. So we don't pay them and they're reimbursed. The money doesn't go to Royal. It's the parish's money, and we submit invoices to be paid through the state.
Okay, but any new funding that's
Again,
available,
I can't tell you what, you know, it would depend on where it comes from and what the stipulations regarding those funds are.
Yeah,
and
I
I
guess-
doubt we'll be able to just give them to somebody without a procurement.
Okay, and that's my question.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Becknell.
Yeah, I thought just ran across my mind. I like to ask administration, and not crying over spilled milk, but I was just reading that last phrase. Now, if this was renewed tonight with what it is,
Pivotal.
by not being renewed, are we delaying like some of my constituents whose home need to be built? Is that a delay?
But the contract expires on August the 25th, so it is it's crucial in 3 weeks on the August 14th agenda that this is passed,
Well,
because if
that's what I
not,
wanna say,
then you
because
have a number of homes that are in the process of being rebid, and Pivotal is the one that goes
That's
out
what-
and does the inspection.
Because I don't want to jeopardize some of my constituents who's waiting forever, like that lady who's sleeping on the sofa with a stroke every week. And she calls me every month and asks me that question. And that's why I'm saying this, because I don't want to be involved in decisions. I'm going to try to make the right one for my constituents, not what other people say. All right? So I just
Yes,
wanted
sir.
to make that statement, not pointing fingers at nobody, and it's not meant to offend anyone. It's Kurt Bicknell as the councilman fighting for his people to make sure everything get done right.
I understand. Thank you.
And I think you guys are pleased with Pivotal. I think we are. They've done a good job. We don't anticipate a problem. I think Laverne's going to attempt to get them to get an alternate document before the next meeting, and, you know, I'm sure you guys will approve it, and Mr.
Yes,
Tarek will sign the document.
You're right, it's pivotal that, that we get it done right.
It's right already.
Okay. All right, we do have executive session tonight.
Need a motion to go into executive session.
Need a motion.
Wait, it's for King County, Utah versus United States, case number 17-739C and 17-1991C. Also, Arbin Estates 2 LLC et al. Versus St. John the Baptist Parish et al., case number 69795, Division A. We have a motion?
Okay, motion by Mr. Mallett. Need a second. Second by Mr. Sarapu. Use your lights, please. And cut off your electronic devices, Mr. Smith. Let's go into executive session.
With 3 absent. Please clear the room.
I couldn't pass that one up, Mr.